Chapter 3051. Lin Sun. Near the Long Yu Divine Mountain, the atmosphere instantly turned silent. Only Lin Sun's calm voice reverberated throughout the area. Everyone's eyes widened, as if they wanted to see the appearance of this man who had always been like a legend. In reality, it was their first time seeing Lin Sun. In the past, they had only heard of his sensational deeds. Just now, I called him a coward in front of him. The girl was stunned. Her grandfather also broke out in a cold sweat. He covered her mouth. Lass, if you say anything more, trouble will come from your mouth. Boom. Extremely far away, within the Long Yu Divine Mountain, a terrifying Tao fluctuation suddenly surged forth. Countless restraining powers surged forth, and divine radiance shot towards the heavens. There was also the power of order spreading out, covering the sky. It was as if an ancient beast that had been slumbering for many years had awakened. Lin Sun, I have been waiting for you for many days. You're finally here. A deep and majestic voice rumbled through the skies. Immediately after, Dongwang Jihui's silhouette flew out from the Long Yu Divine Mountain and stood on top of the clouds. Beside him, there were many horrifying auras radiating out. Then, one transcendent realm, great perfection, old monster after another appeared. There were more than 10 of them. All sorts of divine radiances bloomed from their bodies, rising and falling. Some were filled with sword auras, some were filled with flames, and some were like ghosts in the netherworld. Each of them occupied an area. They were like the sun hanging high up in the sky. Boundless energy was released from within their bodies. Their prowess was like waves, sweeping towards the surroundings and shaking the heavens and earth. Within this small area, including Dongwang Jihui, there were a total of 19 transcendent realm, great perfection existences gathered. How terrifying was that? Rumble. Although the old monsters had retracted their prowess, traces of formless prowess leaked out, causing the mountains to crack and the void to crumble. They were the embodiment of the laws themselves. Countless immortal laws filled up the space, causing the entire area to distort. Even the space shattered into huge cracks, and an endless spatial storm blew out from within. Those are the transcendent realm, great perfection existences that belong to the 10 immortal giants. Shocked cries resounded from the nearby territories. The crowd was in a commotion. All of them had looks of shock on their faces. No one expected that the Dongwang clan would actually mobilize the other undying hegemons to come here to help. Looking at Lin Sun, he was all alone. Comparing the two, everyone could not help but feel worried for Lin. You are Lin Sun? Wang Daochuan, who was wearing a high crown and ancient clothes, said indifferently. The energy in the heavens and the earth surged while the laws flowed. Strands of divine flames, light of the Tao, and devilish flames filled the entire heavens and the earth, causing even space to warp. It was the first time for these old fogies to see Lin Sun, so they couldn't help but be surprised to see him standing alone in the void. It's already come to this, so why haven't the people of the Yuan sect shown themselves? Don't you think it's a disgrace to the reputation of the Origin sect's ancestral court? An old monster said coldly. I know what you're worried about. Don't worry, this time, only this Lin came to the 8th heaven. Lin Sun's dark eyes were calm and tranquil. He stood in front of the heavens and the earth with his hands behind his back. Facing the monstrous energy fluctuations from the Moon God Mountain, he did not even move a hair. His appearance was handsome, and his temperament was indifferent and otherworldly. It was hard to imagine that this was the legendary figure whose name shook the world and was like the sun in the sky. Only you, Dongwang Jihui, and the others narrowed their eyes. They did not expect Lin Sun to be so honest. Only one is enough. Lin Sun said indifferently. He, as expected of the deputy pavilion master of the Yuan sect. Your tone is not ordinary. Someone sneered. If it was really only Lin Sun, so what if he was an immortal supreme? The threat to them was really not that serious. Many old fogies relaxed and shook their heads with a smile. What they were most afraid of was the power of the Yuan sect. Now that Lin Sun was alone, their mentality changed. You are indeed courageous. We are all gathered here, yet you still dare to come out alone. I wonder if you are so confident that you are conceited, or do you really have something to rely on and think that you can defeat all of us together? Wang Daochuan looked at Lin Sun with interest and said in a warm voice. The other old fogies looked at Lin Sun as if they were examining their prey, and there was a faint, cold, killing intent in their eyes. How dare a mere person come and offend them? What was the difference between this and an ant trying to shake a tree? In the past, the Ten Clan Battle Alliance gathered 50 Transcendent Realm Great Perfection experts, but they were all annihilated in the Sixth Heaven. Now only you old guys. Don't you think it's a little shameful? Lin Sun's tone was calm, but the meaning in his words was clearly that he did not take the old fogies gathered in the distance seriously. Arrogant. At that moment, many old fogies were enraged. They no longer restrained their power and spread it. Rumble. In the nearby territory, countless mountains exploded and the earth collapsed. Many cultivators nearby were shaken to the point of coughing up blood and being seriously injured. For a time, exclamations were heard everywhere. The cultivators scattered in the surrounding territory to watch the battle all retreated in panic and fled to a very far place. Only Lin Sun stood tall, unmoved. His temperament was as calm as before. In front of the terrifying power of the many old fogies, he was completely inconspicuous. However, he was like an immovable rock, unmoved no matter how much the raging waves crashed against him. Lin Sun, if you surrender and hand over the divine order on you, we can spare your life. Otherwise, I'm afraid you will die today, and your soul will scatter, said an old ancestor of the Jing clan. His entire body was shrouded in illusory shadows. His name was Jing Shanhu, and he had a monstrous reputation in the Eighth Heaven. You want it? Come and snatch it. Lin Sun laughed. At this time, how could he not see that the top forces of the 10 immortal giants had almost all gathered in the Moonlight God Mountain? This also meant that the eternal God clan in the Ninth Heaven had no time to care about these watchdogs. Otherwise, why would the Dongwang clan need to ask the other immortal giants for help? And why would the other immortal giants come to help? At the end of the day, they were huddling together for warmth. They were worried that they would be defeated one by one, so they set up such a formation. If the heavens want you dead, they will make you mad. Lin Sun, you shouldn't have come to the Eighth Heaven alone. Jing Shanhu sighed softly. As his voice fell, silently, the world where Lin Sun stood was suddenly covered by a shadow, causing all light to be blocked. It was as if the night had swallowed the void. At the same time, figures appeared in the shadow world like ghosts. There were dozens of people, and they attacked Lin Sun from different directions. When each of them appeared, they didn't reveal the slightest fluctuation of aura. Every single figure seemed like a flicker of light as they swiftly arrived before Chen Shi, and they carried out a terrifying and sudden assassination. This scene made the spectators in the distance break out in a cold sweat, and their expressions changed drastically. Lin Sun stood in the shadow, his figure motionless. However, wisps of sword chi whistled out from the immortal laws around him. Puff, 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 puff. With a burst of dense explosions, the dozens of flickering figures were crushed by the sword chi one by one. They were like pieces of paper, and their blood stained the void. Boom! In the end, the shadow that covered the heavens and the earth was blasted apart and dispersed into nothingness. These are the assassins of the hidden space world controlled by your Jing family. They're just a group of transcendent realm initial trash. How dare they try to assassinate me? How ridiculous! Lin Sun said indifferently. He was still indifferent, without a trace of aura. However, he stood in the void, looking around and glancing at the old antiques in the distance. He was like an ancient god facing the mortal world. He didn't have the slightest fear. Instead, he oppressed the audience, as if he was the king of the Ninth Heaven. At that moment, the world was dead silent. Everyone's eyes widened, and they couldn't believe it. In the blink of an eye, a group of transcendent realm assassins from the hidden space world were wiped out like this. Jing Shanhu witnessed this scene. His face became pale, and his eyes were filled with anger. This was originally a surprise attack that he had carefully prepared. All the top existences of the hidden space world were mobilized, but now they were all dead. So strong. The spectators in the distance had goosebumps all over their bodies, and their scalps were numb. After witnessing Lin Sun's divine prowess with their own eyes, they could truly feel how terrifying that terrifying power was. At this moment, the old antiques were also in awe. Men, activate the 9-layer killing array. Dong Wang, Jiu Hui yelled. Boom! Hundreds of figures rushed out from the long U.S. Sacred Mountain. Each of them was controlling a bronze Tao pattern war flag, which turned into a terrifying array in the void. The hundreds of experts were almost all transcendent realm initial and intermediate existences. They released their aura, and suddenly, the 9-layer killing array emerged between the heavens and the earth. Each layer killing array was comparable to a large world. Some were blazing with divine flames, some were bone-chilling cold, some had billions of stars emerging, and some were like a demon's domain with mountains of corpses and seas of blood. When a layer-killing array appeared between the heavens and the earth, a horrifying aura of slaughter rushed out and spread in all directions. The nearby mountains, rivers, and void collapsed along with it, as if it had completely sunk. This was not the end. When the layer-killing array was just formed, many dazzling figures rushed out and rushed into the layer-killing array. Those were the transcendent realm figures of the major forces under the Dongwon clan. As they joined in, the aura of the terrifying 9-layer killing array also rose sharply, as if it was going to swallow the heavens and the earth. Kill! In the layer killing array, neat and uniform roars resounded, like thunder in all directions. Boom! The 9-layer killing array was completely activated, as if hundreds of millions of lights were boiling. With an overwhelming momentum, it shrouded Lin Sun. Seeing this scene, Lin Sun clenched his fist and retracted it from the front. His whole body bent into a bow shape. He pulled his fist like a bow. The entire world seemed to be quiet, and even the laws were frozen. With Lin Sun standing as the center, the space in all directions suddenly collapsed, producing an earth-shattering explosion. Then, Lin Sun punched out the condensed fist in the void. More and more. Chapter 3052. Boom! It was as if a sharp light that tore through the ages had appeared in the sky. The fist energy flowed with a dazzling and resplendent light, and it was filled with an indestructible and courageous might. The world was overturned, and everything was pierced by this fist. The 9 Slaughter formation was controlled by hundreds of transcendent realm figures. It was like 9 worlds full of violent, murderous intent descending. However, under this fist, the first layer of the Slaughter formation, which was like a divine flame, directly exploded, bursting into countless flaming rain. More than a dozen transcendent realm figures who were in charge of this Slaughter formation were all torn apart in an instant, and their souls dissipated. Boom! Immediately after, the second layer of the Slaughter formation, which was like a world of ice and snow, also collapsed. Like a broken mirror, countless flying snow and ice splattered. More than a dozen transcendent realm figures who were in charge of it also perished. Boom! 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 They didn't even have the chance to react at all. Explosions that shook the heavens and the earth resounded incessantly, while layer after layer of Slaughter formations were destroyed by the peerlessly terrifying force of the punch. Layer after layer exploded into pieces, and it caused the glow of the Tao and divine radiance to cover the sky. There were also screams of terror, angry roars of unwillingness, and streams of scarlet blood that rose into the air. In just a blink of an eye, the 9 Slaughter formation, which was activated by hundreds of transcendent realm powerhouses together, was pierced through by Lin Sun's fist like a piece of paper. What was more terrifying was that after piercing through the 9 Slaughter formation, the fist energy did not diminish. It rushed to Long U.S. Sacred Mountain and blasted the mountain guarding formation violently. One punch broke the Slaughter formation and annihilated the group of heroes. The power was so great, the audience was silent. Such a tyrannical and peerless slaughter formation was destroyed by one punch. Even the group of transcendent realm existences that were activating this array didn't survive. Everyone was stunned, and their hearts trembled. No one doubted that Lin Sun was not powerful. After all, there were too many rumors about him in recent years. Each rumor was powerful enough to shock the world. However, no one expected that with just one punch, Lin Sun destroyed the Nine Slaughter Formation so easily, causing those transcendent realm existences to perish before they could escape. This was too terrifying. At this moment, even Dongwang Juhui and the other seniors felt cold in their hearts, and they felt a strand of cold air start from the end of their spines before moving along their vertebrae and suddenly charging to the top of their heads, causing their entire bodies to shudder. This is the power of an immortal. One of the old-timers muttered. He is indeed very heaven-defying. I'm afraid that no one in the same realm can be his opponent. I really wonder how he cultivates. Someone had a solemn expression. Previously, Lin Sun had easily killed a group of assassins from the Hidden Void Realm. That kind of power was frightening. At this time, as Lin Sun destroyed the killing formation of 9 cuts with one punch, those old fogies deeply felt Lin Sun's incredible fighting power. Everyone, let's attack together. We'll use Dao arts to restrain him, use secret treasures to kill him, and use the energy of order to obstruct him. We'll slowly exhaust him to death. Wang Daochuan's voice was cold. His body was shrouded in countless dense sword qi, and the flying swords circled around him like lively fish. His eyes narrowed slightly, and his gaze was as sharp as a heavenly sword as he stared at Lin Sun. All the old fogies nodded, and the aura around their bodies faintly shrouded into momentum, intersecting with each other in the void. Although they seemed to be many, they seemed to be one. If there is no eternal realm body here, the Dongwang clan will be erased from the world today. In the distance, Lin Sun spoke indifferently, and his eyes swept across the crowd. Ridiculous. Who do you think you are? How are you qualified for the eternal realm body to attack you? Today, we will join forces and kill you in front of the mountain gate. Dongwang Juhui shouted coldly. As soon as his voice fell, boom! More than 10 transcendent realm great perfection existences released their aura at the same time and joined forces to attack. How terrifying was this? The surrounding heaven and earth suddenly collapsed into chaos. The destructive aura was like a landslide and a tsunami, turning into a raging storm and spreading out. The spectators in the distance felt a stabbing pain in their eyes, and their hearts were filled with terror. They all felt suffocated. This time, facing Lin Sun, no one dared to be careless. Many old fogies activated their trump cards, took out their proudest treasures, and attacked with everything they had. Boom! More than 10 terrifying auras soared into the sky, and various treasures lit up the heavens and the earth. The rumbling sound of Taoist voices rumbled like thunder, resounding throughout the world. You're courting death. Lin Sun's eyes were indifferent. Today, I will cut off your heads to avenge the master of Tong Tian. With a thud, Lin Sun took a step forward and stepped into the void. The immortal law on his body suddenly boiled and roared, condensing into an abyss and lingering around his body. The aura on his body suddenly began to rise. This was only the first step. Dong, dong, dong. The second step, the third step, the fourth step. Every step Lin Sun took caused the void to tremble and the heavens and earth to tremble. In the end, it gave people the feeling that the universe was about to be turned upside down and the world would fall. Step by step, the abyss on his body became more and more solid, and the profound meaning of the heavens and earth emerged, forming the sun, moon, stars, and the world. An immortal and indestructible aura spread out from his body. This was the immortal law tempered by refining 80% of the Nirvana order. It integrated with Lin Sun's path of cultivation and finally formed the immortal supreme aura. Kill. The old ancestor of the Jing clan, Jing Shanhu, was the first to rush over. He raised his hand and launched a dark and gloomy black banner. On the black banner, Countless dark and mysterious immortal law condensed, and countless ghosts and spirits of the netherworld roared on the banner. It was the immortal Tau soldier, the purgatory, God-suppressing flag, which he was most proud of. As soon as this treasure appeared, the world seemed to have fallen into the netherworld. Hundreds of ghosts walked in the night, and the yellow spring loomed. Countless skeletal demons rushed out of the blood sea, like a mighty army, and rushed towards Lin Sun. 8 directions, infinite sword, mysterious divine fire mirror. Eastern Emperor Bell, sword of judgment. Almost at the same time, Wang Daochuan, Wang Fuping, Dong Wang Jihui, and other old antiques also launched the most powerful immortal Tao soldiers in their hands and attacked Lin Sun with all their strength. Boom! What kind of scene would it be when a dozen lords of heaven attacked together? At that moment, the world was completely chaotic and collapsed, as if it had shattered into chaos. A terrifying space storm raged, and only the immortal law appeared, shining brightly like never before. Anyone below the transcendent realm great perfection would be instantly crushed into dust if they were to brush against it, let alone getting close to it. Swish, swish, swish. Everyone could barely see that in the chaotic world, the immortal Tao soldiers gathered bright divine light, dragging long light tails, rushed towards Lin Sun like comets attacking the moon. Each of those immortal Tao soldiers was powerful enough to smash mountains, rivers, and the universe into pieces. A dozen immortal Tao soldiers attacked together. Even people in the same realm were doomed to be killed on the spot. At this time, Lin Sun's power had been operated to the extreme. His body was like a great abyss, immortal and immortal, just like a pillar of the sky. In the face of such an attack, he just gently raised his hand and waved his palm. Crack! Under everyone's shocked gaze, the purgatory, God-suppressing flag in the front was directly broken by Lin Sun's punch. Countless pictures of the netherworld purgatory were torn into pieces, like a fairy scattering flowers. With a puff, Jing Shanhu coughed up blood on the spot, looking horrified. Then, Lin Sun punched again. Bang! 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 The second one, the third one, the fourth one. In the blink of an eye, the immortal Tao soldiers, which could be called the world's treasures and were tempered by countless immortal materials, were all easily smashed by Lin Sun. Every blow of his was like a great abyss, with the power to destroy all Tao. It was so powerful that it was a complete mess. The destruction of the treasures also caused those old antiques to suffer from the backfire. Their blood and qi were boiling, and they kept coughing up blood. Even their old faces changed. But before they could recover from the shock, Lin Sun's figure flashed like a streamer and instantly flashed between the sky and the earth. Oh no! Dong Wang Jiuhui's pupil shrank. The next moment, Jing Shanhu, Zhong Liboan, and Zhong Yunqi, the 3 old antiques who rushed to the front, all froze in the void. Their eyes were full of astonishment, horror, and disbelief. In their chests, a huge bloody hole appeared, and it was still expanding rapidly. The invincible fist power exploded in their limbs and bones. Boom! The bodies of the 3 transcendent realm great perfection, along with their spirit, directly exploded in the void. Their bodies and spirits were truly destroyed. In an instant, 3 transcendent realm great perfection were destroyed. Between the heavens and the earth, the torrent of destructive power swept across, and the sound of ghosts crying and gods howling resounded. It turned into a chaotic world, with countless energy raging within. At this moment, countless people were terrified to the point their souls almost left their bodies. 3 transcendent realm great perfection existences were killed like chickens and dogs. The Wang family was known as the first immortal giant. After countless years of accumulation, there were only 9 transcendent realm great perfection existences. However, all of them were existences that dominated the world and the 8th heaven. But now, in front of Lin Sun, such existences were obviously not enough. For Dong Wang Jiuhui and the others, It was like a basin of ice water was poured over their heads, chilling them to the bone. Lin Sun was too strong, too terrifying. Even 3 people in the same realm couldn't withstand his blow. No one expected Lin Sun's strength to be so terrifying. When the 9-layer killing formation was broken and the treasures were destroyed, they still felt lucky, thinking that Lin Sun used some forbidden secret technique to unleash his strength. However, after killing 3 people with 1 punch, even the old antiques were completely awakened. The current Lin Sun was not someone these old fellows could fight against. In other words, no one in the all heavens was a match for him at this stage of cultivation. Everyone, if you don't use the eternal realms will avatar now, you won't have the chance anymore. Lin Sun said indifferently. His aura was extremely strong. He stood there like a supreme ruler. Thinking back to when he was still in the transcendent realm initial stage, he could already kill opponents in the transcendent realm great perfection. Even in the 6th heaven, his cultivation had yet to reach the great perfection level, but he already slaughtered all the old antiques in the 10-clan war alliance. Now, he had the cultivation of the transcendent realm great perfection, and he had refined 80% of the nirvana order. Even if he was only using the green wood Taoist physique, how could the old antiques in the same realm compare to his prowess? Chapter 3053. Lin Sun's aura was too strong. At this moment, everyone was shocked. On the other hand, the transcendent realm great perfection old antiques all shifted their gazes towards Dongwang Jiuhui. This was the Dongwang clan's territory. Only Dongwang Jiuhui had the eternal realms will avatar. None of the elders from other immortal clan carried such a trump card. It wasn't that they didn't want to, but among their respective immortal clan, such trump cards were extremely limited. They needed to be kept in the clan for emergencies. Originally, they thought that if they joined forces to deal with Lin Sun alone, they wouldn't encounter too many twists and turns. But now, they suddenly realized that even if they joined forces, it was very likely that they wouldn't be able to kill Lin Sun. Lin Sun, you brought this upon yourself. Dongwang Jiuhui's eyes were filled with madness. He crushed a jade talisman without hesitation. Boom! A terrifying eternal realm aura suddenly permeated between heaven and earth. In the midst of the divine radiance, a majestic figure appeared out of nowhere. This person was dressed in a silver robe, holding a feather fan and silk scarf. He looked like a scholar, but when he looked around, he had the aura of a king overlooking the heavens. Yang Jiuzhao, an eternal realm existence of the Yang family of the eternal god clan in the 9th heaven. This is his Dharma idol. Boom! Just as Yang Jiuzhao's will avatar appeared, an unbelievable scene appeared. Then, Lin Sun rushed to the first time. While he was still on the way, for doppelgangers suddenly appeared and attacked with all their strength. Yang Jiuzhao's will avatar couldn't help but be startled. Was there such an idiot in this world who would bring about his own destruction? A hint of contempt appeared in his eyes, and he waved his palm. Boom! A dazzling crimson divine light burst out from his body, sweeping across the heavens and earth. Endless light and heat were released from his body. The eternal divine chains that resembled crimson clouds could easily kill any transcendent realm existence. This was the power of the eternal realm. Using the rules to melt gold and refine the sun, it was omnipotent. However, seeing this scene, Lin Sun's 5 Tao bodies didn't retreat, but directly attacked. Boom! Greenwood, red fire, black water, and yellow earth Tao bodies joined forces and forcefully shattered Yang Jiuzhao's attack. The eternal divine chains in the sky exploded. Yang Jiuzhao's eyes narrowed. It was also at this moment that Lin Sun's platinum Taoist physique charged over. His pair of hands seemed to be made of incomparably sharp divine gold. He thrust them into the void and tore them apart. An earth-shattering roar resounded and rumbled through the world. Everyone only saw. Yang Jiuzhao's Dharma idol had a ghastly wound on it, nearly splitting it in half. Damn it! Yang Jiuzhao finally realized that something was wrong. His expression changed drastically, and he circulated all of his strength to counterattack. But Lin Sun's other 4 Taoist bodies rushed up together and suppressed it with all their strength. In an instant, bang, Yang Jiuzhao's will and dharma exploded. Countless beams of scarlet light rained down from the sky. Each drop was like lava, smashing into the ground and burning large holes. Finally, the area within 100 miles was turned into a sea of fire. In just a few blinks of an eye, the Dharma idol of an eternal realm expert was destroyed. Everyone who witnessed this scene turned pale with astonishment, and they were shocked to the point their minds fell into disorder. How supreme was the eternal realm? Its Dharma idol could suppress all existences under the eternal realm. This was the iron law of the ages, and no one had ever been able to break it. However, at this moment, the Dharma idol of an eternal realm expert was destroyed by Lin Sun in just a few blinks of an eye. This completely subverted everyone's cognition, and they were all dumbfounded. Who dared to face such a terrible opponent? Those old antiques felt cold hands and feet, and their hair stood on end. They finally understood why Lin Sun dared to come to the 8th heaven alone. If there was no eternal realm expert, the whole world was doomed to be no match for him. Boom! The world was shaking. Without giving them time to think, Lin Sun's 5 doppelgangers attacked together. Just one doppelganger of Tao was so powerful before, let alone 5 at the same time. In just a moment, several old antiques failed to dodge and were killed on the spot. Some were incinerated, some were killed by the sword intent, and some were smashed by the heavy fist energy. At this moment, Lin Sun's 5 Taoist bodies all showed an invincible demeanor in the same realm. They were unimaginably strong, and there was no delay at all. Strong, domineering, unbelievably fast. In the past, those old monsters in the transcendent realm great perfection were all supreme figures that could make the world tremble with a stomp of their feet. They had experienced the ups and downs of the world, and they had rich combat experience. However, in front of Lin Sun, their thousands of techniques and tens of thousands of Taoist bodies seemed powerless. They were completely suppressed, and there was no way for them to resist. In the world, only Lin Sun's doppelgangers could be seen galloping across the battlefield, causing the world to collapse. They were invincible and set off a storm of blood. In the end, only Dongwang Zhuhui and the other 5 Transcendent Realm Great Perfection experts were lucky enough to escape into the Longwed Divine Mountain. Quickly activate the Forbidden Array and use the power of order. Dongwang Zhuhui roared. Boom! Countless Forbidden Arrays' power surged, piercing through the heavens and the earth. Tao patterns flickered like a tide, illuminating the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Before Dongwang Zhuhui could heave a sigh of relief, Lin Sun's 5 Taoist bodies rushed straight towards them. The layers of Forbidden Array's power were tyrannical, but in front of Lin Sun, they burst like bubbles, forcefully breaking apart. The Dongwang clan's experts who operated the Forbidden Array suffered a backlash. One by one, their divine souls cracked, and they vomited blood before dying. Too domineering. Looking from afar, Lin Sun destroyed the Dongwang clan's mountain gate with a single move. The spectators from afar were completely stunned. They were in a daze, and they were so shocked that they lost their voices. Since the beginning of time, the Dongwang clan had been in the 8th heaven region. When had their mountain gate ever been destroyed like this? Whoosh! However, just as Lin Sun was about to start his massacre, a huge halberd suddenly appeared in the space, slashing towards his 5 Taoist bodies. This halberd was incomparably mystical. It was completely condensed from the power of order. When it slashed out, the surrounding space instantly froze. Lin Sun's 5 Taoist bodies slightly froze. They felt as if there were countless space shackles binding them, wanting to imprison them. Spirit of order, looking at the halberd slashing towards him, a strange look flashed in Lin Sun's eyes. In the next moment, a terrifying might erupted from his 5 Taoist bodies, and the layers of frozen space in the vicinity exploded with a bang. As for the halberd, it was firmly grasped in Lin Sun's hand. At first, it struggled violently, but it gradually became docile. Clang! Lin Sun's greenwood Taoist body shook his wrist, and the space halberd suddenly burst out with a monstrous wave of order, causing the surrounding space to surge violently. No! Dong Wang Juhui roared in anger, and his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. In the blink of an eye, not only was the mountain gate trampled and the power of restriction destroyed, even the spirit of order that had been guarding the Dongwang clan for countless years was suppressed and subdued by Lin Sun. This made Dongwang Jiuhui completely crazy. He crushed the remaining jade talisman in his hand. Boom! A familiar scene appeared. An eternal realm Dharma idol appeared in the void. However, in the next moment, the Dharma idol of the eternal realm was surrounded by Lin Sun's 5 Taoist bodies in the void before anyone could see it clearly. Rumble, an earth-shattering roar sounded. Unsurprisingly, this eternal realm Dharma idol was also destroyed. A rain of light swept out, destroying the mountains near the Moonlight God Mountain, and countless buildings were turned into ashes. This was already the mountain gate of the Dongwang clan. Without the protection of the restriction and the power of order, it could only be destroyed by the raging battle. Many of the Dongwang clan's experts that were hiding didn't even have the time to react before they were turned into ashes. They were erased from the world. It's over. Dongwang Juhui's face was ashen, and he seemed to be on the verge of collapse. This time, he had made ample preparations. He gathered the old monsters of the 9 immortal realm powerhouses to assist him, as well as the transcendent realm powerhouses of the various forces under the Dongwang clan. But now, everything was destroyed by Lin Sun's attacks. The Dongwang clan no longer had the strength to resist. Run. Quick run. The remaining old monsters from the other immortal realm powerhouses were already scared out of their wits. Their legs were trembling, and they were panicking. They didn't dare to hesitate at all, and fled immediately. However, how could Lin Sun allow them to leave alive? Whoosh! The Scarlet Flame Taoist body teleported and traversed over 100 miles. It appeared behind an old antique and stepped on it. Kacha! This old antique's Taoist body was instantly crushed into pieces. Countless amounts of blood and bones scattered in the air. The immense power even penetrated through his body and struck the ground, leaving behind a huge footprint. As for his primordial spirit, it was incinerated into ashes by the Scarlet Flame Taoist body's power. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At the same time, the black water, white gold, yellow earth, and greenwood Taoist body also made their moves, attacking the other antiques. Lin Sun, you will die a horrible death. Lin Sun, I swear that I will never be your enemy again. How about this? Little thing, you will die sooner or later. All sorts of angry roars resounded. Some were threatening, some were begging for mercy, and some were cursing him with hatred. Lin Sun turned a deaf ear to them and ignored them. Boom! Blackwater Taoist Physique's palm strike was like a heavenly blade, and it slashed a Taoist into two at the waist. After that, the other Taoists who were fleeing in the other directions weren't able to escape. Lin Sun's great Tao clones caught up to them, and they crushed them one by one like a hot knife through butter. Blood sprayed through the sky. In the end, only the Dongwang clan's patriarch, Dongwang Juhui, was left. His physical body was shattered by Lin Sun's punch, and his primordial spirit was caught in Lin Sun's hand. He was powerless to struggle and could be crushed at any moment. The life and death of a sect leader was in Lin Sun's hands like an ant. From Lin Sun killing Yang Zhuzhao's Dharma avatar, to his 5 Taoist bodies attacking together, to destroying the Dongwang clan's mountain gate, subduing the spirit of order, killing the transcendent realm Great Perfection antiques, and finally capturing Dongwang Jue's primordial spirit. All of this happened and ended in an extremely short period of time. By the time everyone reacted, only Lin Sun's 5 Taoist bodies were left in the sky above Longyue Divine Mountain. He was like a god, standing proudly above the heavens and earth. Yes, I did an update today. I didn't go back to my hometown for the Mid-Autumn Festival, so I'll go back this weekend. Chapter 3054. The mountain gate collapsed, and smoke and dust filled the air. Between heaven and earth, Only Lin Sun's 5 Tao forms were left standing in the air, like gods. Oh, the wind howled, and the chaos surged. Between the nearby mountains and rivers, it had already turned into withered ruins. Vitality dried up, and everything turned into ashes. Everyone was dumbfounded, looking at Lin Sun's clones bathe in the divine glory of the immortal law in fear. 19 transcendent realm great perfection, except for Dongwang Juhui, were all killed by Lin Sun, as if he was cutting vegetables. Too strong. He was really too strong. In this world, there were peerless existences who dominated the world and crushed their peers. But there was no one like Lin Sun, who killed the same realm as if he was killing chickens and monkeys. You're the only one left. Lin Sun stared at Dongwang Juhui's spirit with no joy or sorrow in his eyes. Lin Sun, the era will come in 1,000 years. No one in this world can escape, and you are no exception. I will wait for you on the road to hell. Dongwang Juhui's voice was hoarse, and his eyes were filled with hatred. Lin Sun was unmoved. His divine sense pierced into Dongwang Juhui's spirit like a sharp divine sword. The latter let out a painful groan, and his spirit tumbled violently. After a while, with a bang, Dongwang Juhui's spirit exploded and dissipated. No wonder I didn't notice it these days. It turns out that those immortal giants came here through the ancient transmission array. Lin Sun's black eyes flickered. He had already found what he wanted to know from Dongwang Juhui's spirit. Next, Lin Sun's figure flashed, and he walked towards the depths of Longwei Divine Mountain. Bang, bang, bang. Along the way, there were many hidden experts from the Dongwang clan. As long as Lin Sun's divine sense sensed that their cultivation bases were above the immortal emperor realm, their cultivation bases would all be crippled. As for those with transcendent cultivation bases, they would all be killed. This time, Lin Sun still didn't kill them all. As he said before, he only beheaded the leader of the evil forces. Just like how he dealt with the enemy forces of the Sixth Heaven in the past, after destroying their mountain gate and taking away their order power, those characters below the Emperor realm are destined to never be able to rise again. In addition, now that the Dongwang clan has declined, they would surely become the plump prey in the eyes of others. There would definitely be countless people who would throw stones at them when they're down. Lin Sun dared to be sure that after this battle, those powers that were once under the Dongwang clan would instantly transform into hungry wolves and devour the Dongwang clan. Senior, spare my life. Senior, spare me. Senior, I'm only an outer sect elder who serves the Dongwang clan. I'm not a member of their clan. Please spare my life. Lin Sun, sooner or later, you would die tragically in this world. In a Longwei Divine Mountain, a chaotic scene could be seen. The members of the Dongwang clan were either kneeling and begging for mercy, resisting with all their might, fleeing with all their might, or threatening the Dongwang clan. But Lin Sun was not moved at all. Although he wouldn't willfully kill the innocent, he had his own bottom line and principles. As he moved forward, the Longwei Divine Mountain was filled with rivers of blood. Shrill screams could be heard everywhere. As for those members of the Dongwang clan that Lin Sun had ignored, they were fleeing in terror, appearing chaotic and unstable. Swish! Not long after, Lin Sun's silhouette flashed, and he arrived at the core of the Dongwang clan. There was a huge mountain that emanated the aura of the Order of Space. Above and below the mountain, the Order of Space was like a waterfall that tumbled about. Lin Sun stretched his hand out and grabbed. Boom! The mountain suddenly crumbled, and 1,000-foot-long Order Source essence shot out like a flood dragon and was firmly grabbed by Lin Sun. This was a rarely seen 9th-grade heaven-ranked Order Source essence. It was related to the Tao of Space, and its Order Spirit was an extremely tyrannical Great Halberd. If it was any other Transcendent Realm expert, they would have to face many obstacles if they wanted to subdue this Order Source essence. But to Lin Sun, whose undying law was comparable to a divine-ranked Order Source essence, this rare, 9th-grade heaven-ranked Order Source essence was like a bug. It was directly refined into a pigeon egg-sized pearl and swallowed into his body. If such an Order Source essence is lost, how can a clan rise again? Unless I find another similar order source essence. Sadly, it's not that easy to obtain such a rare heaven-ranked order source essence. As he pondered, Lin Sun turned around and headed in another direction. Very quickly, the Dongwon clan's countless years of accumulated wealth and cultivation resources were all swept clean by Lin Sun. In the end, Lin Sun's 5 Taoist bodies stopped in front of an ancient teleportation array. With this array, I don't have to worry about the other undying realm powerhouses fleeing upon hearing the news. This saved me a lot of time and energy. Through this teleportation array, he could instantly arrive at any undying realm powerhouse. This also meant that he could kill his way into the other undying realm powerhouses before the news of the Dongwon clan's destruction spread. Not only that, the old monsters sent by the other undying realm powerhouses to support the Dongwon clan had all been killed. Currently, among the undying realm powerhouses, there was only one transcendent realm perfection realm powerhouse left. To Lin Sun, there wasn't much of a threat left. The only price he had to pay was the consumption of a heaven-ranked order source essence every time he activated the teleportation array. However, to the wealthy Lin Sun, this wasn't a problem at all. Sending the 4 Taoist bodies to act together is enough. Very quickly, Lin Sun made a decision. He left the Blackwater body here to guard the teleportation array, preventing other cultivators from using the teleportation array to leak information to the other undying realm powerhouses. The other 4 Taoist bodies took action and entered the teleportation array together. Buzz! In an instant, the teleportation array fluctuated, and Lin Sun's 4 Taoist bodies disappeared. The black-robed Blackwater body stood in the air, gazing at his surroundings. The mountains and rivers were shattered, and the stench of blood permeated the air. It was a desolate scene. I didn't expect this trip to be so smooth, the Blackwater Taoist body murmured in his heart. Before coming to the 8th heaven, he only wanted to cause trouble. If he could injure the 10 undying realm powerhouses, that would be enough. The reason why he did so was because the 8th heaven and 9th heaven were connected. Each of the 10 undying realm powerhouses had an eternal god clan as their backing. This made Lin Sun vigilant. If he appeared in the 8th heaven, would the 9th heaven attack him? It was also because of this reason that he waited outside the Longyue God Mountain for several days, giving the Dongwon clan enough time to prepare. He wanted to see if the 9th heaven would send people to help the Dongwon clan. Now, Lin Sun already knew that the eternal god clan behind the Dongwon clan had chosen to abandon the Dongwon clan. Otherwise, the Dongwon clan wouldn't need to ask the other undying realm powerhouses for help. What was even more interesting was that the other undying realm powerhouses had already suffered great losses and were in a difficult situation. However, under such circumstances, other than the Fu clan, the other undying realm powerhouses all sent transcendent realm great perfection experts. This made Lin Sun guess that the eternal god clan behind the other undying realm powerhouses were also too busy to help the other undying realm powerhouses. As a result, the entire situation started to become favorable for Lin Sun. At the very least, without the threat of the eternal god clan in the 9th heaven, there wouldn't be many powerhouses in the 8th heaven that could threaten him. This was the reason why Lin Sun felt that this trip was very smooth. Outside the Longyue God Mountain, as time passed, more and more figures began to appear, and they approached the area. These were all spectators. They had witnessed the entire process of the bloody battle. They saw Dongwon Juhui and the other ancient powerhouses. They saw how Lin Sun easily killed them, and how the Dongwon clan's mountain gate was destroyed. The reason why they approached at this moment was because they wanted to see what the Dongwon clan's nest had become and whether they could take the opportunity to loot. For example, loot some treasures that were left behind. However, before they could enter the Longyue God Mountain, Lin Sun's indifferent voice already sounded. "When I leave, you will have plenty of opportunities to loot the treasures here. Now, you better obediently stand outside the mountain gate. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." His words caused the spectators to tremble, and their expressions changed drastically. They all thought that Lin Sun had already left which was why they had the courage to come here. However, the meaning behind Lin Sun's words surprised them, and they also felt a wave of excitement. So it turned out that Senior Lin Sun didn't mind them coming to the Dongwang clan's nest to loot treasures. Naturally, they were also clear in their hearts that the Dongwang clan's wealth that had been accumulated over countless years had probably been taken away by Lin Sun long ago. But even so, they were still filled with incomparable anticipation. Even if they couldn't eat the meat, they could at least drink some soup. The Longyue God Mountain was a first-rate land of fortune in the 8th Heaven region, and it had been managed by the Dongwang clan for countless years. Not mentioning anything else, anyone who could occupy this Longyue God Mountain could be said to have obtained an unparalleled fortune, let alone the fact that the Longyue God Mountain covered an area of 100,000 miles, and there were many divine materials and spirit medicines there. The treasures that Lin Sun didn't care about might be considered rare treasures to them. The battle just ended, and it has already attracted so many covetous gazes. When the news spreads out, I wonder how many evil wolves will be attracted. Lin Sun sighed in his heart. There was no need to guess. He knew that the Dongwang clan was completely finished. However, all of this had nothing to do with him. High Death God Mountain, the place where the Wang clan was located. In the eyes of the hundreds of millions of creatures in the 8th Heaven region, High Death God Mountain was like the world's most sacred place. For countless years, the Wang clan was the supreme ruler of this realm. It's just that in the past 100 years, the Wang clan's power had been greatly reduced. Their vitality was greatly damaged, and their foundation was shaken. Their situation was no different from the other immortal giants. All of this was naturally caused by Lin Sun. Late at night, in the Wang clan's main hall, Patriarch Wang Zhongtian paced back and forth alone. His brows were tightly furrowed. Although his expression was as calm as before, under the illumination of the resplendent lights, it seemed to flicker. Why is there still no news until now? Wang Zhongtian was deeply worried. A few days ago, Wang Daochuan and Wang Fuping, the two old antiques, brought the clan's supreme treasure Sword of Judgment to the Dongwang clan to provide assistance. Since then, Wang Zhongtian had been waiting for news, and his heart was filled with torment. Until now, he was already somewhat unable to remain calm. If it wasn't for the fact that using the ancient teleportation array required him to consume an 8th grade heaven-ranked order, he probably couldn't help but go to the Dongwang clan to investigate. P.S. Yesterday, there were many comments in the comment section saying that the plot was wrong and that it had something to do with the 5 Taoist bodies. Goldfish is really tired and thinks that I wrote it wrong. Please look at the first sentence of chapter 2957. I'm worried that you guys are too lazy to read it, so I'll type it out for you guys. On that day, Lin Sun's 5 Taoist bodies moved together and left the primordial realm. These were the original words. In the current plot, it was always written that the Greenwood Taoist body was moving, but the other 4 Taoist bodies were also there. All right, with Lin Sun's current cultivation, was there something wrong with keeping the 4 Taoist bodies? In the future, I won't explain this kind of criticism anymore. Finally, the second chapter was slightly later. Literature Hall. Chapter 3055. Did something happen? No, I can't wait like this any longer. After a long time, Wang Zhongtian took a deep breath. He decided to send people to the Dongwang clan immediately. But just as he was about to give the order, a panic scream sounded outside the hall. Patriarch, it's not good. The immortal soul lamp left by the 2 elders has been extinguished. Boom! Wang Zhongtian felt like he was struck by lightning, and his head felt like it was about to explode. The 2 elders have fallen. Death is like a lamp going out. The extinguishing of the immortal soul lamp means that the souls of the 2 elders Wang Daochuan and Wang Fuping have been completely shattered. In this case, there is no possibility of resurrection. How could this be? Could it be that Yuan Jiao led a group of old guys to attack the 8th heaven with Lin Sun? Wang Zhongtian tried to calm himself down, but his heart was in chaos. He realized that the worst has happened, and the urgent task is to act as soon as possible. Someone, go and close the ancient transmission array leading to the other immortal giants. Immediately, Wang Zhongtian ordered in a deep voice. Yes. Outside the hall, someone took the order and left. Fortunately, I have already placed all the clansmen in the Great Spirit Tower in advance, and they can evacuate at any time. Wang Zhongtian secretly rejoiced. A few days ago, after Wang Daochuan and Wang Fuping left, Wang Zhongtian had already taken action and settled all the members of the Wang family. Currently, there were only a few outsiders who served the Wang family in the Celestial Peak God Mountain. Once the teleportation array closes, I'll leave with the clan's power of order and the Great Spirit Firmament Pagoda. When that time comes, even if the Yuan sect's power comes, they'll only be left with an empty sky peak divine mountain. Wang Zhongtian took a few deep breaths and decided to go and take away the order source of the clan now. Boom! At this moment, a violent roar sounded, breaking the silence of the night. Wang Zhongtian's pupils shrank, and his face changed drastically. Could it be that Lin Sun and Yuan Jiao have already arrived? He rushed out of the hall as soon as possible. In the distance, a series of shouts sounded, and all kinds of dazzling lights of the way whizzed into the sky, illuminating the night sky. Those were the experts who guarded the Wang clan, and almost all of them were outsiders. However, at this moment, these dazzling streaks of light were like fireworks that vanished in an instant. As soon as they charged out, they vanished into the ink-black night sky. There were no screams, no struggles. Everything happened silently. Wang Zhongtian's heart sank. How could he not discern that as soon as those experts charged out, they didn't even have the time to react before they were annihilated? Whoosh! He teleported through the void and rushed toward the forbidden core area of the clan. The enemies were already here, so he couldn't be bothered about anything else. He just wanted to take the energy of order away as soon as possible and leave Divine Mountain, celestial extinction. The power of order was the root of the clan. If it was not taken away, there would be hope for them to take root again. Similarly, as long as the clansmen in the Grand Spirit Firmament Pagoda were alive, the Wang clan would have a chance to live on forever. We're here. Soon, an ancient tree appeared in their field of vision. This tree was no more than 27 m tall. It was completely black and suffused with a metallic sheen, and its branches were like numerous, extremely sharp divine chains that hung down from above. A horrifying fluctuation of order swept out from the tree, and it gave others the feeling as if they weren't facing a tree, but a heavenly punishment that came from the heavens. The Tree of Tao Judgment. This was a rare 9th-grade heaven rank order that had protected and nourished the Wang clan for countless years. The experts of the Wang clan throughout the generations had risen step by step from comprehending the profundities contained within this tree. I'll bring you back with me in the future. A wisp of sorrow suffused Wang Zhongtian's eyes, but it was replaced by calmness in merely an instant. He took a deep breath and was just about to make a move. Suddenly, an indifferent voice resounded. This is the energy of order of your Wang clan. It really is extremely extraordinary. The Sword of Tao Judgment was refined from a portion of the quintessence energy of this order, right? Wang Zhongtian was horrified. He intended to crush a flying sword-shaped jade talisman that he'd prepared a long time ago at the first possible moment. His reaction wasn't slow, but there was someone even faster than him. As soon as the indifferent voice resounded, 3 figures appeared out of thin air and attacked him in a triangular formation. Bang! In an instant, Wang Zhongtian's immortal law was torn apart like a piece of paper. His neck was grabbed by a huge hand, and he couldn't move at all. He couldn't even exert a single ounce of strength. The jade talisman in his palm fell to the ground and made a dull sound. Wang Zhongtian's face instantly turned pale, and his eyes widened in anger. He felt like he was about to collapse. He was subdued with a single strike. As the Wang clan leader, Wang Zhongtian was also an extremely tyrannical, transcendent realm, great perfection existence. However, he couldn't imagine how he would be suppressed without even realizing it. He was dumbfounded. This jade talisman should contain an eternal realm's Dharma image, right? Unfortunately, it's useless to you now. Lin Sun's scarlet fire Taoist body grabbed Wang Zhongtian's neck tightly, while the yellow earth Taoist body picked up the jade talisman on the ground and played with it in his hand. On the other side, the greenwood Taoist body was looking at the tree of judgment not far away. From time to time, the roar of battle could be heard from afar. It was the platinum Taoist body fighting. Seeing this scene, Wang Zhongtian couldn't help but be in disbelief. This time, you came to the eighth heaven alone? That's right. Lin Sun's scarlet fire Taoist body nodded, and the Dongwang clan is finished. Whether it's the reinforcements sent by the Wang family or the old guys sent by other forces, they've all been killed. Wang Zhongtian's eyes widened, and his expression kept changing. It was obvious that he couldn't believe it. This is impossible. How can you do this with your strength? It doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. Lin Sun's scarlet fire Taoist body said and exerted force in his palm. Whoosh! A rain of flames emerged. In an instant, Wang Zhongtian's indestructible Taoist body was incinerated into ashes, and his spirit was firmly grasped by Lin Sun. What are you doing? Wang Zhongtian roared angrily. Even though he was the head of the Wang family, he still couldn't stay calm in the face of the threat of death. Lin Sun's scarlet fire Taoist body said casually, "There should be more than a few clansmen in your Wang family. If I ask you, I think you won't answer honestly. In this case, the most effective way is, of course, to search your soul." Wang Zhongtian felt that the sky was about to collapse. He thought of his clansmen who had been placed in the Grand Heaven Pagoda. "No, you can't do this, you can't." He shouted and struggled wildly, but it was of no use. In an instant, Lin Sun's divine sense pierced into his spirit like a sharp sword. After a while, Lin Sun withdrew his divine sense and said, "I didn't expect that you had prepared everything in advance. If I came a little later, I'm afraid that your Wang family would have escaped the disaster." Wang Zhongtian was about to say something, but with a bang, his spirit exploded and turned into a rain of light. This treasure should be the Grand Heaven Pagoda. Lin Sun's scarlet fire Taoist body picked up a palm-sized pagoda from the ground. When he killed Wang Zhongtian's Taoist body, all of his treasures fell to the ground. This pagoda was hidden among them. This saved me a lot of trouble. Lin Sun's black eyes were cold. If he guessed correctly, the cultivation resources and wealth that the Wang family had accumulated over countless years were probably stored in this Grand Heaven Pagoda. After putting the treasure away, he waved his sleeve. Boom! The tree of judgment was uprooted and fell into his palm. It's time to go to the next one. Lin Sun didn't dare to waste any time. His Taoist body came to the teleportation ancient formation. Although the Dongwang clan and Wang clan's bases had been destroyed, there were still 8 undying realm powerhouses. If he didn't hurry, it was very likely that these undying realm powerhouses would escape in advance. Buzz, a wave of spatial fluctuations rumbled. Lin Sun's 4 Taoist bodies disappeared into thin air. Snow Reflection, Divine Mountain. The Qi clan, the undying realm powerhouses. Late at night, there were signs of chaos in the Qi clan. Quick, everyone go to the Space Origin Divine Palace. Clan leader will bring us away in 15 minutes. A series of shouts rang out. Why do we have to leave? Many clansmen were confused. They didn't know what was going on. Why are you asking so many questions? Let's leave quickly. In the great hall of the clan, Qi Shuheng was incomparably anxious. He just received news that the undying soul lamp of the old ancestor sent to the Dongwang clan had been extinguished. This grievous news made him feel danger immediately. Hence, he acted immediately. Clan leader, the origin source of order energy has been retrieved. Clan leader, all the core clansmen have been sent to the Space Origin Divine Palace. Now, we're just waiting for the other clansmen to rush over. I believe that in less than 15 minutes, they will all be gathered. Clan leader, news came one after another, causing Qi Shuheng's anxious heart to calm down. We can't wait any longer. We have to leave now. Qi Shuheng gritted his teeth and decided to abandon those unimportant clansmen. He directly brought the Space Origin Divine Palace and the origin source of order away. But at this moment, A terrified shout rang out outside the Great Hall. Clan leader, this is bad. The Space Origin Divine Palace has been snatched away. What? Qi Shuheng was shocked. The Space Origin Divine Palace was a supreme treasure that could store a world. Now, it was used by him to store all the clansmen of the clan. But now, this treasure had been snatched away by someone. Who is it? Qi Shuheng was furious, and his face was livid. Outside the Great Hall, a muffled groan was heard. The clansmen who reported the news silently turned into ashes and disappeared. Following that, a figure strolled in. He was dressed in a green robe and looked indifferent. It was Lin Sun's greenwood Taoist physique. You, Qi Shuheng's heart turned cold. Lin Sun, this fellow had actually come for the kill. Why didn't you use the willpower of the Eternal Realm? Lin Sun asked. Qi Shuheng said sternly, Lin Sun, boom. Just as he spoke, Lin Sun had already made his move. His palm and fingers were like swords, cutting down from the air. Although Qi Shuheng tried his best to resist, he was no match for Lin Sun. In just a few blinks of an eye, he was suppressed and imprisoned on the ground like a prisoner. Until this moment, Lin Sun finally understood and said, it turns out that such a big clan like Qi family can't come up with a Dharmalaksana of the Eternal Realm to help us now. There was undisguised sarcasm in his voice. Qi Shuheng's heart was dead. Chapter 3056. When he decided to come to the eighth heaven, Lin Sun had already read and understood all the information related to the 10 immortal giants. Although the 10 immortal giants are tied in the eighth heaven, the forces they possess are strong and weak. Among them, the Wang family is the strongest, hence they are called the first immortal giant. The other immortal giants are not as powerful as the Wang family. There is also a gap between them. Among them, the Qi family, Fu family, Dongwang family, and Zhongli family can be ranked in the top 5, because each of them has a complete and rare 9th-level heaven step order. The Zhong family, Zhu family, Qi family, Mu family, and Jing family are slightly inferior, ranked at the bottom, because the order power of their clans is only at the 9th-level heaven step. Similarly, each of them has an eternal god behind them. In the past, with the support of the Eternal God clan, they could naturally stand proudly in the 8th heaven, overlooking all living beings. Even against the 4 ancestral courts, they had great confidence. But the current situation is already different from the past. A few years ago, with the destruction of the 10-clan war alliance in the 6th heaven, the 10 immortal giants also suffered an extremely heavy blow. Now, the Eternal God clan in the 9th heaven can't even protect themselves. They can no longer protect the 10 immortal giants. And when the gathered power of the Dongwang family was destroyed by Lin Sun, it was equivalent to a serious blow to the other immortal giants. Under such circumstances, even the first immortal giant Wang family was like a collapsed building. When Lin Sun's 4 Dao bodies arrived, they collapsed with a loud bang. There were no twists and turns at all. And the Qi family was even worse. Such a huge, immortal giant didn't even have an eternal realm Dharma image. When the patriarch Qi Shuheng was suppressed, the fate of the clan was already decided. In less than a quarter of an hour, in the snow reflection Divine Mountain, where the Qi family was located, blood flowed like a river. The order power of the clan was also taken away, following the footsteps of the Dongwang family and the Wang family. From the destruction of the Dongwang family to the destruction of the Qi family, only a quarter of an hour passed. And in the following time, Lin Sun didn't stop. He killed the next immortal giant. My Fu family has served your Minamoto clan for countless years. We have never had a trace of disloyalty. Why? Why did you not save us? Why? The Fu clan. Before an ancient altar, the patriarch, Fu Chaolan, howled loudly while his eyes were filled with rage, anxiety, and unwillingness. In the distance, miserable screams could be heard. The shockwaves from the battle swept through the world and were rushing over at an astonishing speed. However, the ancient altar did not have any reaction for a long time. Fu Chaolan's eyes were bloodshot, as if he was about to go mad. This ancient altar can communicate with the Minamoto clan of the 9th heaven. In the past, whenever the Minamoto clan needed to do something, they would issue orders through this altar. In fact, Yuan Changtian and Yuan Shilio used the power of this altar to descend from the ninth heaven to the eighth heaven. But now, the Minamoto clan had clearly sealed off this channel of communication. The Master of the Heart Core was right. No matter how loyal we are, at the end of the day, we are nothing more than watchdogs in the hands of the eternal gods. Fu Chaolan's eyes gradually turned gloomy, and he seemed to have lost his soul. Is this the passage to the ninth heaven? An indifferent voice rang out. Lin Sun's 4 Taoist forms had arrived. That's right. Fu Chaolan turned around and looked at Lin Sun's Tao avatar. His expression was unusually calm. Didn't your master tell you that he used the path of my Fu family to go to the ninth heaven? Lin Sun couldn't help but be surprised. Is there such a thing? Fu Chaolan's expression was wooden. Unfortunately, you are still far inferior to your master. Back then, he dared to step into the ninth heaven alone and compete with the eternal gods of the ninth heaven. Although your current combat power is heaven-defying, you still haven't set foot on the path of the eternal Tao. Now, in this eighth heaven, the path to the ninth heaven has been closed, and the calamity of the era will descend in 1,000 years. Under such circumstances, I'm afraid you won't have the chance to kill your way to the ninth heaven, Lin Sun said indifferently. There is no such thing as an absolute in this world. In the past, which of you 10 immortal giants would have thought that I could kill my way to the eighth heaven alone? Fu Chaolan was silent for a long time. He suddenly raised his head and stared at Lin Sun's 4 Taoist forms. I really hope that one day you can kill your way to the ninth heaven and destroy the eternal gods one by one. His voice was filled with deep hatred. Bang! Before Lin Sun could react, Fu Chaolan's body suddenly cracked and exploded. His cultivation rapidly faded, and his primordial spirit turned into a fragmented rain of light. I, Fu Chaolan, have achieved the Tao for 190,000 years. When I was young, I was also a peerless genius. Even after taking control of the Fu clan, I have been wandering on the path of Tao, but I have my own unyielding character. I can die, but I will never die in your hands. His calm voice echoed, but Fu Chaolan's body and soul had long been destroyed. The patriarch of a powerful giant calmly chose to end his own life. This was completely beyond Lin Sun's expectations. Unyielding character? If I can't protect my own clan, what kind of unyielding character is that? Lin Sun shook his head and turned to leave. When his 4 Taoist forms left, the Fu clan was destroyed and the power of order was taken away. Everyone in the clan followed the footsteps of the Dongwon clan, the Wang clan, and the Qi clan. A quarter of an hour after leaving the Fu clan, the Jingyang Dao Mountain of the undying giant Zhongli clan collapsed. Their patriarch Zhongli Qing and the other major characters of the Zhongli clan were killed. Their clan's rare level, 9 heaven-ranked order power, the Samadhi cleansing flame, was taken away. In the following period of time, the undying giants Mu clan, Zhong clan, and Qi clan were destroyed one after another. Their sects collapsed, and blood flowed like rivers. The 2 immortal giants of the Jing clan and the Zhu clan were already gone by the time Lin Sun's 4 great Taoist bodies arrived. However, Lin Sun didn't spare them. In the following period of time, his 4 Taoist forms met up with the Blackwater Taoist form in the Dongwon clan and began a hunt in the 8th heaven region. 10 days later, in the depths of a desolate mountain, they found the Zhu clan's patriarch, Zhu Fatian, and the other major characters. After which, the Zhu clan also followed in the footsteps of destruction. 1 month later, the undying giants Jing clan, who were hiding in a secret realm, were found and met with a calamity. Under the sky, Lin Sun's greenwood Taoist form's robes fluttered in the wind as he walked in the air. The 10 undying giants have been annihilated one by one. From now on, they have become the dust of history. To Lin Sun, this was undoubtedly equivalent to getting his revenge. These watchdogs have been killed, but the eternal gods of the 9th heaven region are still indifferent. It seems that the threat of the Great Silence lifespan tribulation really made them too busy to care about anything else, Lin Sun murmured. It's time to go back. After a while, Lin Sun abandoned the distracting thoughts in his mind and disappeared into the vast horizon. In 1 month, the 10 undying giants were all annihilated. This news was simply earth-shattering. It caused an unprecedented sensation in the eighth heaven. All major forces and billions of creatures were shocked. How is this possible? How is this possible? An old man who had lived for a very long time had a dazed look on his face. The 10 immortal giants have been standing in the eighth heaven for countless years, like the supreme rulers, overlooking the world and deterring the major heavens. In the hearts of the people, they were the 10 unshakable mountains. However, in just a short period of 1 month, these 10 mountains collapsed and were annihilated from the world. The impact of this news was too great. At first, people thought that it was fake news and that it couldn't be true. However, after many cultivators personally went to the ruins of the 10 undying giants and saw it, they couldn't help but believe it. The path of the immortal supreme is really so terrifying. It's just one person, but he destroyed the 10 undying giants. This is too tyrannical. The situation of the entire eternal true world has been changed by him alone. All kinds of shocked uproars resounded in every territory of the eighth heaven, and the news continued to spread to other heavens. Legend. This is the true, supreme legend. 100 years ago, Lin Sun entered the Yuan sect with the identity of Zhu Ying Emperor ancestor. 100 years later, he is now the Yuan sect Yuan Qing Pavilion head, an undying overlord known by the world, the first person to destroy the 10 undying overlords. The power of one person changed the situation of the world. If the eternal gods of the ninth heaven don't come out, who in this world can suppress Pavilion Master Lin? For the people of the world, the impact of the destruction of the 10 undying giants on the world is absolutely immeasurable. This means that from now on, there will be no more giants in the eighth heaven. When such news spread, the forces of the world will inevitably compete for supremacy in the eighth heaven, fighting for and seizing the territories that originally belonged to the 10 undying giants. A vigorous reshuffle will also begin. The old rules and orders set by the 10 undying giants in the past have been broken, and new forces will rise, setting off a new chapter. And Lin Sun is undoubtedly an iron curtain that no force or cultivator can ignore. An iron curtain that shrouds all the heavens. It's no exaggeration to say that although Lin Sun hasn't established his own force, his power alone is comparable to a force that can dominate the sky above the eight heavens. Lin Sun, if this name was said to have shocked the world in the past, then the meaning of this name now is completely different from before. On the path of the immortal supreme, this name represents true invincibility, a supreme existence that has never existed since ancient times. In the entire world, he is the legend who stepped on the corpses of the 10 undying giants. As long as the eternal realm doesn't appear, he is the supreme existence. An older generation figure sighed with emotion and commented, "Since ancient times, there has never been a lack of peerless experts in this world. There have also been countless legendary giants who appeared out of nowhere, stunning each era. However, Lin Sun alone can suppress the same realm cultivators of an era. Looking at the past and present, there is only one person. No one can compare to him." Chapter 3057. Yuan Sect. Lin Sun's main body was cultivating. Suddenly, he opened his eyes quietly. Then, he sensed a familiar aura fluctuation. The 5 Tao bodies had returned. Lin Sun's main body moved, and in a flash, the 5 Tao bodies that had just entered the primordial realm appeared in the cave abode. A connection was formed between his main body and his doppelgangers, allowing Lin Sun to instantly understand what had happened in the eighth heaven. After a while, a smile appeared on Lin Sun's main body's lips. He didn't expect things to go so smoothly. The ninth heaven has been holding back all this time. This is really strange. While thinking, Lin Sun's main body put away the 5 Tao bodies. He had a hunch that the eternal gods must have noticed some earth-shattering change, which made them have no time to care about the eighth heaven. And this earth-shattering change was probably related to the calamity of the era. What could it be? Lin Sun couldn't figure it out, but for him, it was already an unexpected harvest to be able to destroy the 10 immortal giants on this trip. The power of restriction outside the cave abode suddenly fluctuated. When Lin Sun opened the restriction, Xian Feiling's voice suddenly sounded. How did it go? Lin Sun got up and walked out of the cave abode, smiling. It went well. From now on, there will be no more 10 immortal giants in this world. Xian Feiling was stunned. His eyes widened. They were all destroyed? Lin Sun nodded. Xian Feiling excitedly slapped Lin Sun's shoulder. Tell me how you did it. On that day, the news about Lin Sun destroying the 10 immortal giants of the eighth heaven spread in the primordial realm, causing a great sensation. Pavilion Master Lin destroyed the 10 immortal giants alone? He is too fierce, right? The older generation figures were all dumbfounded and shocked. As for the descendants of the 3 pavilions and 9 peaks, they were all excited, talking about it excitedly. The 10 immortal giants were behemoths that had stood for countless years. But now, they were all erased from the world. Junior sister Tang Jiang, Pavilion Master Lin is your master. Why don't you look happy? In the training field of the 9th peak, many disciples were talking about Lin Sun's great victory and high spirits. But someone noticed that Tang Jiang was sitting there alone with her arms around her knees, lost in thought. I'm naturally very happy, but I'm only worried that no matter how hard I cultivate, I won't be able to satisfy Master. Tang Jiang sighed. Don't give yourself any pressure. There's only one person like your master in the entire world. What you should do is to stick to your heart and seek your own path towards the Tao. You shouldn't be arrogant or rash, and you shouldn't be shocked by favor or humiliation. Not far away, the Peak Lord, Emo Lanshan, walked over and said in a gentle voice. Tang Jiang quickly stood up and said, Peak Master is right. Emo Lanshan asked, Tang Jiang, how long has it been since you last saw your master? Tang Jiang answered without hesitation, more than 8 years. It's been quite some time. Emo Lanshan nodded. Now that your master has just returned with a complete victory, you can take this opportunity to visit him. Tang Jiang's eyes widened. Can I? Emo Lanshan smiled. You're his last disciple, so it's reasonable for you to visit him. Why not? Okay, I'll go now. With that, Tang Jiang turned and left. On this day, there were many people who went to visit Lin Sun, such as the deputy heads and elders of the 3 pavilions. All of them came to congratulate Lin Sun. When Tang Jiang arrived, she immediately attracted a lot of attention. Hey, little Tang Jiang has grown up so much. In just 18 years, she has already stepped into the 3rd step of the quasi-emperor realm. An old monster joked. This girl's root bone is not very good, but her talent and comprehension are extraordinary. Her future achievements are bound to be limitless. Someone commented while stroking his beard. Tang Jiang, when you reach the emperor realm, I'll be your protector, someone said with a smile. Thank you, seniors. Tang Jiang appeared very polite, well-behaved, and sensible. She naturally knew that the reason why so many old people paid so much attention to her was naturally because of her master. When Tang Jiang saw Lin Sun, he was drinking and chatting with Du Guiyong, Fong Daoping, and others, which made her feel a little restrained and nervous. Tang Jiang, come here. Lin Sun waved his hand with a smile. Tang Jiang hurried over and said, Disciple Tang Jiang pays respect to master. Don't stand on ceremony. Sit down and wait. I'll test your Taoism later. Lin Sun said with a smile. He had never taught this disciple carefully, so he felt a little sorry. Tang Jiang didn't think so much. She sat on the side of Lin Sun with great joy, until the disciples who came to visit left one by one. Lin Sun first asked some questions about Tang Jiang's cultivation, and finally said, Before I reach the Emperor Realm, you can stay with me and cultivate. The Emperor Realm was the most critical step on the road of Tao. As Lin Sun's master, he naturally would not hide anything, so he decided to take this opportunity to give Tang Jiang some advice. Okay, Tang Jiang nodded. her face full of surprise. Late at night, the Azure-Wood Taoist body was preaching to Tang Jiang, answering her doubts. Lin Sun's main body was cooking. Xie sat in front of the table and began to seriously enjoy the delicious food that Lin Sun served from time to time. Occasionally seeing this scene, Tang Jiang felt a burst of indescribable envy in her heart. If I want to find a Tao companion in the future, I must find someone like Lin Sun. Tang Jiang, come and eat with us. After a long time, Lin Sun packed up all kinds of food and called Tang Jiang to eat together. Tang Jiang hurriedly trotted over and sat obediently on the side. After eating, Tang Jiang reluctantly said goodbye and returned to her cave residence. Lin Sun brewed a pot of hot tea and drank with Xie. After second senior brother and the others come back, I plan to go back to the Starry Sky Ancient Road. Now that the 10 immortal giants have been destroyed, whether it is the Witch Sect, Zen Sect, or the Eternal Gods of the Ninth Heaven, they have all retreated. Lin Sun intends to take advantage of this time to take away Zhao Jingxian and her son, as well as the relatives and friends of the Lin family, and settle them in the Yuan sect. Of course, his parents and the Luo family members living in the Aurora world of the Chaos Demon Sea in the Sixth Heaven also need to be settled. Take me with you, said Xie. Lin Sun agreed with a smile. However, plans can't keep up with changes. Half a month later, second senior brother Zhong Qiu returned to the Yuan sect and told Lin Sun some good news and bad news. The good news was that Lin Sun and the others who were trapped in the great universe true realm had been successfully rescued. The bad news was that in the 1,000 years before the calamity of the era, there will no longer be an opportunity to prove one's eternal Tao in the eternal true world. Lin Sun was caught off guard when he learned of this news. Eldest senior brother originally had a chance to prove one's eternal Tao, but because of this unforeseen event, his cultivation path has stagnated at the transcendent realm great perfection, unable to advance. In the cave residence, Zhong Qiu sighed softly. What about eldest senior brother and the others? Lin Sun could not help but ask. They went to Kunlun ruins, said Zhong Qiu. Zhong Qiu said, according to eldest senior brother, he can't delay any longer. He must make a breakthrough as soon as possible. Otherwise, the drive to prove one's Tao that he has cultivated for many years will be worn out. Lin Sun's eyes narrowed. However, the Kunlun ruins is extremely dangerous now. I don't know how many Eternal Realm existences are gathering there. It's too dangerous for eldest senior brother and the others to go. Zhong Qiu said, don't forget that senior Golden Cicada, Master's Will, Dharma Form, and Martial Uncle Kongju are all there. With their care, eldest senior brother will be much safer when he proves his Tao. Lin Sun couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Originally, he was looking forward to reuniting with his senior brothers and sisters in Fonsuan Mountain. Now, it seemed that he would miss this opportunity again. The affairs of the world are impermanent, nothing more so than this. So, apart from you, second senior brother, the other senior brothers and sisters have also left with eldest senior brother? Lin Sun asked. Zhong Qiu nodded and said, that's right. After I see you this time, I will immediately set off for Kunlun ruins. Lin Sun was stunned then. Why don't I go with you? Zhong Qiu refused without thinking. No. Eldest senior brother and third junior sister asked me to come here to tell you not to go to Kunlun ruins before the era calamity arrives. Why? Lin Sun frowned. Zhong Qiu said, I don't know how many Eternal Realm existences have gathered in Kunlun ruins now. They're competing to go to the ruins of Wonderful Tao. There will be unpredictable battles at all times. If you go and let those old guys know that you have the Nirvana Law, what do you think they will do if they can threaten the mastermind behind the era calamity? Lin Sun said, as long as we don't say anything, how can they know? Zhong Qiu said, don't underestimate those Eternal Realm old guys. What's more, you're the Yuan Sect's Yuan Qing Pavilion Master now. How can you leave everything at this time? Lin Sun was speechless for a moment. He really couldn't go to Kunlun ruins at all costs. It was not because he couldn't bear to give up the position of Yuan Qing Pavilion Master, but because there were still many things he had yet to do. For example, his parents, Master Lu, and the others were still in the Aurora world, the sixth heaven. Zhao, Jingxian, and her son, and the members of the Lin family were still waiting for him to return. All of these things had to be resolved before the era calamity arrived. Don't worry, there will come a day when we brothers and sisters can reunite, Zhong Qiu said softly. Zhong Qiu said softly, you don't have to worry about us. Don't forget that a long time ago, our Fangsa Mountain lived in the Kunlun ruins for a period of time. Our understanding of the Kunlun ruins is far from what others can compare to. Lin Sun smiled bitterly and said, what else can I say other than agreeing? After a pause, he asked, Senior brother, why did you say that before the era calamity arrives, it's impossible for an opportunity to prove eternity to appear in the eternal world? Zhong Qiu's expression instantly became solemn as he said, this is a conclusion that eldest senior brother came to personally. According to him, it's very likely that the critical factor to attain eternity has been obstructed by the person that's pulling the strings from behind the scenes. Otherwise, he would have been able to easily break through the barrier and step into the eternal realm over 10 years ago. Lin Sun felt a chill in his heart. If that's the case, if I stay in the eternal world, won't I be destined to never step onto the eternal path? More updates tonight. Chapter 3058. Zhong Qiu said, that should be the case, but there are no absolutes in this world. You might not be able to reach a breakthrough in the eternal true world, but that doesn't mean that you won't be able to reach a breakthrough in other places. For example, eldest senior brother had chosen to head to the Kunlun ruins to make a breakthrough. Junior brother, you can do the same in the future. Lin Sun nodded. He was now only one step away from the eternal realm, but the accumulation of his cultivation was far from enough. Only after he completely refined the nirvana order would he consider seeking an opportunity to prove the eternal realm. On that very day, Zhong Qiu left in a hurry. Lin Sun was lost in thought. If the calamity of an era were to descend, then this era would definitely be obliterated. At that time, the most terrifying 5 blight tribulation would descend, and no matter how high one's cultivation was, it would be impossible for one to escape being annihilated by this calamity. On the other hand, before the calamity of an era descended, the eternal realm existences in the world were most afraid of the grand silence lifespan tribulation that would descend at any moment. It is precisely because of this that the eternal gods of the ninth heaven have no time to care about anything else. They can only wholeheartedly prepare to resolve this disaster. Similarly, the Kunlun ruins had also become a gathering place. It was because only in the Kunlun ruins would one have the opportunity to head to the ruins of Myriad Dao and avoid the threat of the Great Silence lifeless tribulation. Currently, the master of the Heartcore's avatar, Golden Cicada, Kong Ju, and the Yuan sects Tai Xian, Yinji, Yu Beihai, and the others had all headed to the Kunlun ruins. Before long, the successors of Mount Fangsuan would arrive there as well. If Lin's guess was right, the voodoo cult and the Zen cult were probably making the same preparations. We can't delay any longer. After a long time, Lin took a deep breath and made a decision. In the following days, Lin became busy all of a sudden. He was so busy that he had no choice but to mobilize all 5 of his Taoist forms to coordinate with his main body. Only then could he take care of his own cultivation while dealing with various matters. His scarlet flame Taoist body quietly left with the abyssal sword cauldron and headed to the 6th heaven. The greenwood Taoist physique was teaching Tang Jiang cultivation. The platinum gold Tao body headed to the essential void pavilion's book mountain. There were many ancient books in the book mountain, and among them were records related to the calamity of an era. The Blackwater Taoist body went to visit Fong Daoping. This time, he had destroyed the 10 undying giants, allowing him to take away all the cultivation resources and wealth that the 10 undying giants had accumulated over countless years. After checking, Lin Sun gathered all the cultivation resources that he didn't need and decided to hand them over to Fong Daoping. In this way, it would be enough to benefit the whole Yuan sect. After all, the wealth accumulated by any one of the undying giants was enough to make all the forces in the world go crazy, much less the combined wealth of the 10 undying giants. The yellow earth Taoist physique helped the main body and began to refine the collected order power. Among the 10 immortal giants, 5 of them possessed rare heaven rank, 9 heavenly orders, while the other 5 only possessed heaven rank, 9 heavenly orders. However, immortal giants like the Wang family and the Fu family possessed many other heaven rank, 9 heavenly orders in addition to rare ones. Undying giants like the Zhong clan and the Jing clan, who only possessed heaven rank, 9 sequences, had an extremely large number of heaven rank sequences in their clans. Lin Sun had counted. In addition to the 5 rare heaven rank orders, there were as many as 89 heaven rank orders collected from the 10 immortal magnates. On average, each undying giant would have 8 to 9 heaven rank 9 heaven rank order sequences. From this, one could see how deep the foundations of the 10 undying giants were. For example, in the 7th heaven, there were also many forces. Immortal emperor clans with heaven rank, 9 heaven rank orders. But in terms of foundations, they were far from comparable to the immortal giants like the Jing clan and the Zhong clan. The reason was that the immortal giants like the Jing clan and the Zhong clan not only had a large number of heaven rank, 9 heaven rank orders, but they also had an eternal god backing them. This was the reason why they could stand proudly in the 8th heaven and look down on the world. Of the 89 heaven rank, 9 heaven rank orders, Lin Sun kept 20 of them. The rest were taken away by the Blackwater Taoist physique and given to Feng Daoping to deal with. Now, Lin Sun planned to completely refine the 5 rare heaven rank, 9 heaven rank orders. They were the Wang family's Tree of Judgment, the Fu family's 4 Spirits Lake, the Dongwang clan's 9 Changes Space, the Zhongli clan's Samadhi Cleansing Fire, and the Qi clan's True Water of Silence. These 5 rare heaven rank, 9 heaven rank orders had all given birth to order spirits. In the past, Lin Sun would not have been willing to refine these top-notch treasures, but now he couldn't care less. After all, only 20% of Nirvana's power was left, and it was where its core origin was located. It was extremely laborious to refine, and progress was also extremely slow. According to Lin Sun's deduction, even if his main body and the 5 Taoist physiques worked together to refine them, it would probably take them at least 30 to 50 years to completely refine them. Therefore, Lin Sun planned to refine these 5 rare heaven rank, 9 heaven rank orders first. In this way, the power of his immortal rules would definitely increase greatly, and he would be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort when refining Nirvana. Whoosh, a dazzling fluctuation of orders circulated. Lin Sun took out the Wang family's Tree of Judgment and gave it to the yellow earth Taoist physique to refine. Meanwhile, his main body took out the Fu family's 4 Spirits Lake to refine. 3 days later, Lin Sun's Scarlet Fire Taoist physique brought Luo Qingxuan, Lin Wenjing, Lu Boya, and all the members of the Luo family back to the Yuan sect. Of course, Peng Tianxiang and the members of the Peng family were also there. On the same day, Lin Sun's main body came out of seclusion and reunited with his parents, Master Lu, and other relatives. They drank and chatted merrily. It was also on this day that the Luo family and the Peng family were settled in the Yuan sect, which solved Lin Sun's worries. After the Scarlet Fire Taoist physique returned, he helped Lin Sun refine the heaven rank, 9 Taoist physique along with the yellow earth Taoist physique. Apart from the green wood Taoist physique teaching Tangjiang cultivation every day, the other trivial matters were handled by the Blackwater Taoist physique and the white gold Taoist physique. Time flew, and half a year passed quickly. In this half a year, many changes happened in the Yuan sect. Among the disciples of the 9 Peaks, those who set foot on the immortal path emerged like mushrooms after the rain, and the heavenly longevity realm powerhouses were also advancing towards the Nirvana realm. What was especially gratifying was that some elders in the Nirvana realm perfected broke through and entered the transcendent realm. The reason was that in this half a year, Feng Daoping distributed the wealth Lin Sun collected from the 10 immortal giants in batches. With enough cultivation resources, it would be difficult for the powerhouses in the Yuan sect not to break through. Such changes made Xin Failing, Dugi Yong, and Feng Daoping very happy. Of course, they all knew that Lin Sun's contribution was indispensable for the Yuan sect to have such changes in just half a year. At the same time, in the cave residence, Lin Sun's body was full of qi, and an immortal halo floated behind him, forming a mysterious lotus-like pattern. When it rotated slowly, it reflected the mysterious scene of the cycle of life and death. It was like the lotus. In the flower pattern, there was a world of samsara, where life and death alternated, destruction and nirvana were deduced, and an obscure and mysterious aura emerged. As Lin Sun withdrew the qi around him, all the strange phenomena suddenly disappeared without a trace. Next, it's time to refine the remaining 20% of the nirvana order power. Lin Sun let out a long breath. In half a year, he completely refined the 5 rare 9th-level heaven rank order power and integrated it into his immortal law, which made the law transform and become more powerful than before. If it weren't for the lack of the core power belonging to the nirvana order, it would be no different from the real nirvana order. Next, I need to further refine the abyssal sword cauldron. Lin Sun thought. The power of the abyssal sword cauldron was now unparalleled, far beyond the ordinary immortal weapons. But for Lin Sun, there was still a lot of room for improvement. Moreover, he had plundered countless divine materials from the 10 immortal giants, which were enough to greatly improve the power of the abyssal sword cauldron. Master! A joyful voice sounded outside the cave residence, and then the beautiful figure of his disciple, Tang Jiang, flew in and said happily, I have reached the Emperor realm. Lin Sun smiled and said, Not bad, not bad. After half a year of teaching and guidance, Tang Jiang, who was already at the peak of the quasi-emperor realm, had reached the emperor realm today, which didn't surprise Lin Sun. Now that you've stepped foot into this realm, you can only seek your path in the future on your own. All I can teach you are nothing more than some experiences in cultivating in the emperor realm. You can use it as reference, but you absolutely can't copy it completely, otherwise it would delay your own path towards the Tao. Lin Sun warned. Tang Jiang nodded hard. Go ahead. You've just broken through. Consolidate your realm. From now on, you'll go to the Sky Pavilion to practice. Only through experience can you better check and make up for your shortcomings. Lin Sun said. Master. Tang Jiang's heart suddenly surged with reluctance. In the past 6 months, she had been staying with Lin Sun, guided by Greenwood Taoist physique day and night, and tasted the delicious food cooked by Lin Sun in her spare time. She had long regarded Lin Sun as a father in her heart, so she was naturally reluctant to leave. It's not like you can't see me anymore. Why do you have to be like this? Lin Sun laughed. The young eagle spreads its wings and roams the 9th heaven. Although you have the cultivation of the emperor realm, your shortcomings are also very obvious. That is, you lack the tempering of worldly affairs. In the future, you should take more assessment tasks and experience more things. It's good for you. Well, then I'll come to visit you often in the future. Tang Jiang took a deep breath and said seriously. Watching Tang Jiang's figure leave, Lin Sun couldn't help thinking of Su Bai, his disciple when he was in the ancient desolation realm. He didn't know what realm this disciple had reached now. When I completely refine the nirvana order, I'll immediately set off for the ancient way of starry sky. Lin Sun made a decision. From this day on, Lin Sun retreated again and devoted almost all his attention to refining the nirvana order, unaware of the passage of time. Xie Ji had been accompanying Lin Sun all the time. Even if she hadn't spoken to Lin Sun for a long time, even if she had been staying in this cavern world, she didn't seem to feel bored. She had always been like this over the years. The world in her heart only contained Lin Sun. More updates. Chapter 3059. A year passed quickly. On this day, Lin Sun woke up from his meditation and frowned slightly. As early as half a year ago, he had refined the nirvana order to 90%, but in the next 6 months, he didn't make any progress. No matter how hard he tried to refine the remaining 10% of the core power, he couldn't shake it at all. It seems that this is a bottleneck, far from being solved with time and effort. Lin Sun made an inference. Wushuang. With a move of his heart, Wushuang's figure appeared out of thin air. Master, what can I do for you? When Lin Sun brought the Luo family back from the sixth heaven, Wushuang had also been taken back by him. In your opinion, what is the power of my immortal law now? Lin Sun asked. Wushuang was the spirit of the order of heaven in the origin world of the last era. She had survived the calamity of the era and had extremely incredible power. According to her, when she was at her peak, the power she controlled was not weaker than the divine order. The mysteries contained in the divine order in the divine world were all related to the eternal way, and the power of order contained was no different from the power of rules. In other words, when Wushuang was at her peak, the power she controlled was no different from the law of heaven. Wushuang said in a clear voice, Master's immortal law is not weaker than the divine order, and even stronger than the divine order. But Master's immortal law is the power of the law after all, not the real eternal way. She paused for a moment and said, In my opinion, the reason it's like this is because it's restricted by Master's cultivation. If Master attains the eternal Tao, then the immortal laws are bound to transform into the inconceivable eternal laws, and eternal laws are no different from the laws of heaven and earth. Lin Sun nodded. It seems that my inference is right. No matter how powerful the immortal law is, it is still the power on the path of immortality. It is bound to be impossible to achieve a new transformation due to my own cultivation realm. He completely understood. The remaining 10% of the core power of the Nirvana order was not something he could refine at his current realm, and he needed to prove the eternal way before he could be qualified to refine it completely. Master, your immortal law is already a taboo, even more powerful than the divine order, which means that your current cultivation can fight against the power of the law of heaven and earth. Wushuang's voice was clear and sweet. Lin Sun smiled and said, You're such a sweet talker. Don't tell me you're coveting the power of order on me again? Wushuang's innocent face revealed a trace of shyness as she said, Master, Wushuang is only one step away from recovering to her peak state. Without waiting for him to finish, Lin Sun tossed out 5 ninth-grade heaven-level sequences. Take them. Wushuang's beautiful eyes were sparkling as she said excitedly, Thank you, Master. I know Master loves Wushuang the most. Lin Sun laughed. Although he knew that Wushuang had no emotions or intelligence, and that her current actions and expressions were derived from her own order power, it was not artificial at all. It looked very natural and spiritual. Putting away Wushuang, Lin Sun was lost in thought. At present, he still had a lot of sequence power on him. However, the only rare 9th-grade heaven-rank sequence power was a pair of purplish-green gourds. Apart from them, there was also Wushuang, Little Ming, Little Xian, and the Divine-level Grand Prime. Among them, the Grand Prime Order was subdued from the 10 Devil Realms and contained the most primitive way of eternity. According to Wushuang, the Grand Prime Order at that time was just born like a young man with a blank sheet of paper with infinite potential to be excavated. Over the years, the Grand Prime Order had been nourished by Lin Sun's Nirvana Law. It regarded the Nirvana Law as its mother, and it had been constantly reborn and reshaped over the years. However, even Lin Sun himself did not know what it would eventually transform into. But what Lin Sun was sure of was that the power of the Nirvana Law could nirvana and reshape the divine level order. Just like now, the divine level Grand Prime was constantly being nourished by Lin Sun's immortal law. When Lin Sun proved the way of eternity, he could refine it and condense it into his own eternal law. Of course, he could also leave the divine level order behind. In that case, it would be enough to establish an eternal force in the future. After a long time, Lin Sun woke up from his thoughts. It's time to set off on the journey back to the starry sky, ancient road. He stood up and left the cave residence. A moment later, in the central hall, Lin Sun met with Sky Pavilion Master Xian Failing and Void Pavilion Master Duga Yong and talked to them about his decision to head to the starry sky ancient path. Both of them nodded in agreement. For the current Lin Sun, Unless it was his eternal realm true body, there was almost no one in the world who could be his opponent. Moreover, a place like the Starry Sky Ancient Path was just one of the many worlds, and it had long since declined. Over the countless years, it had almost been forgotten by the eternal world. How could there be an opponent who could threaten Lin's son in such a place? Although the Starry Sky Ancient Path has declined for a long time, it has one of the four great Tao ruins, the ultimate. It's adjacent to the Kunlun ruins, so it can be said to be blessed by nature. Xian Failing came from the Xian family, so he naturally knew the situation of the Starry Sky Ancient Path like the back of his hand. Unfortunately, although the Kunlun ruins also has opportunities and fortunes, most of them have been taken away long ago. Now, it has become a place of contention during the change of eras. Only the old antiques in the eternal realm have the right to compete for it. It's too dangerous. The ultimate is where the orthodoxy of Mount Heart is located. It's known as the origin of the great Tao in the universe. If we trace the source, the eternal world is also related to the ultimate. It's just that a long time ago, the origin power of the ultimate has been exhausted. Otherwise, your orthodoxy of Mount Heart wouldn't have been easily destroyed by the enemy. Hearing this, Lin Sun recalled the core ruins he saw in the ultimate and could not help but sigh. Senior, also know about the past? Lin Sun asked. Xian Failing said, of course. However, the destruction of your Mount Heart has nothing to do with the strength of the enemy. Since the beginning of the primordial times, the master of the core had already noticed that the origin power of the ultimate had been exhausted, so he moved the sect to the Kunlun ruins a long time ago. No wonder. Lin Sun nodded. He knew a long time ago that the power that destroyed Mount Heart came from the 6 great Tao courts of the Starry Sky Ancient Path. However, from the looks of it now, the Fonsa Mountain Gate that they had destroyed all those years ago was merely an empty shell. Anyone would be able to do it. By the way, if you leave this time, bring my great-grandson with you. Xian Failing suddenly said. Lin Sun said, Senior, do you also plan to bring your clansmen to the primordial realm? Xian Failing nodded and smiled. That's right. I originally planned to go to the Starry Sky Ancient Path in a few years. However, if you go on my behalf, it will save me a lot of trouble. Lin Sun agreed readily. After bidding farewell to Xian Failing and Duguion, he went to look for Xian Jiuyin and Jintian Xinhua. Yuan Kong Pavilion, Wild Cloud Residence. When he saw Lin Sun, Xian Jiuyin grinned and said, I was wondering who it was. It turns out to be the world-famous Yuan Qing Pavilion Master, Lord Lin. Lin Sun slapped his shoulder. Why didn't you bow to the Pavilion Master? Xian Failing grimaced in pain and begged for mercy. Lin Sun could not help but laugh and said, Get ready to go back to the Starry Sky Ancient Path with me. I'll go too. Not far away. Jintian Xinhua could not help but speak up. Of course I won't leave you alone. Lin Sun looked at Jintian Xinhua with a smile. Her white clothes fluttered with the wind and a golden belt around her waist. She was as beautiful as a painting, and her temperament was as cold as ice. She was becoming more and more beautiful. Like Xian Jiuyin, she had successfully set foot on the immortal path more than 10 years ago and was now in the heavenly longevity realm. Compared to Lin Sun, her progress was not fast. But compared to others, her progress could be said to be lightning fast. Not long after, Lin Sun returned to the cave residence with Xian Jiuyin and Jintian Xinhua. Xie, we should set off. Xie was eating melon seeds when she heard that. She got up and said, Let's go. There was no hesitation or thought. It was as natural as if they were just going out for a stroll. Lin Sun left the 5 Taoist bodies behind to guard the Yuan sect and to deal with various matters in the sect at any time. Moreover, Lin Sun also left the Abyssal Sword Cauldron to be refined by the Scarlet Flame Taoist body, the Greenwood Taoist body, and the Platinum Taoist body. With the divine materials and materials obtained from the 10 immortal giants, the power of the Abyssal Sword Cauldron could be increased by a great deal. In short, no matter what Lin Sun did now, as long as he could make use of time, he would not waste a single moment. On that day, Lin Sun, Xie, Xian Failing, and Jintian Xinhua left the Yuan realm together. Whoosh! In the starry sky of the world beyond the vault of heaven, a skiff carried Lin Sun and the others through the starry sky at an extremely fast speed. In a flash, it crossed a part of the starry sky. It was as if it was sailing through space and time, and it made people feel as if the stars were moving. In just a few hours, a huge golden door that spanned 10,000 feet appeared in their field of vision. It was like a golden rainbow that stretched across the void. This was one of the doors that led to the eternal world from Chaotian City, the 49th immortal pass of the vast thousand battle domains. When Lin Sun arrived on the skiff and successfully passed through the golden door, his field of vision changed, and he immediately arrived in Chaotian City. Chaotian City. As the last checkpoint of the vast thousand battle domains, Chaotian City was a hub that connected to the eternal world. Over the years, many factions from the eternal world had set up shop in the city. They set up all sorts of shops to purchase all sorts of treasures that could only be found in the vast thousand battle domains. Treasures like the Underworld Pearl and the Skunda Pearl were also highly sought after cultivation resources in the eternal world. Apart from that, there were also many immortal emperor clans that set up shop in Chaotian City. They were stationed here in order to recruit talents as soon as possible. It should be known that those who could enter the vast thousand battle domains and experience countless bloodshed and slaughter to reach the 49th Immortal Pass were all extremely powerful individuals. In the past, Lin Sun had killed his way from the first Immortal Pass to the 49th Immortal Pass, Chaotian City. At that time, he was in the Ju-ing Emperor realm. When he returned, he was already in the transcendent realm Great Perfection. When he arrived in the city, Lin Sun couldn't help but reminisce about the past. He put away the skiff and said, "Everyone, why don't you accompany me for a walk in the city?" P.S. A small modification. Due to the conflict between the two words absolute beginning and absolute beginning bell, the absolute beginning order has been changed to absolute beginning order. Chapter 3060. Chaotian City was majestic and magnificent, as if it was forged from divine gold. It shone with a cold luster, and there was a faint layer of dark red halo that looked like specks of blood. According to legend, this was the blood of emperors and even the blood of immortals that had fallen in the battles of ancient times. Of course, it had long dried up, and its essence had dissipated. Otherwise, this city would be filled with murderous intent and unapproachable. The enormous city gate tower was over 10 kilometers tall, and it was grand and powerful. It emanated a horrifying pressure. This was a pair of gates forged from Star River Divine, sand mixed with immortal matter, and it was shocking. This was Chaotian City. Since ancient times, countless cultivators in the vast thousand worlds dreamed of reaching this place. As long as they reached this place, they would have the chance to ascend to the eternal true world. The buildings in Chaotian City were all incomparably ancient, and the atmosphere was solemn. The streets crisscrossed, bustling, and bustling with pedestrians everywhere. Lin Sun and the others restrained their auras as they walked. As they walked, many scenes appeared in Lin Sun's mind. In the past, he had seen Martial Uncle Kong Ju, who had lost his mind and seemed to have gone mad in this city. He had participated in the operation of the gods' ruins outside this city, and had become enemies with the 4 Eastern Imperial clans. He had gone through an unparalleled calamity under the primordial tree of Myriad Dao and reached the Ancestor Realm. He had killed Qi Lingyun, Zhong Li Xiao, and Qi Pejuan, the peerless experts from the 8th Heaven. It was also outside the gods' ruins that he had encountered a murderous calamity and was protected by his 4th senior brother Ling Xuanzi and Martial Uncle Kong Ju, which had allowed him to escape by luck. The various events of the past seemed to be vivid in his mind, and Lin Sun was filled with emotion. Unknowingly, he had already arrived at the location of the Boundary Battle Steel. The Boundary Battle Steel could measure the battle strength of emperors and their achievements in the vast thousand battles domains. Lin Sun had once ranked first on the Xian ranking and was unparalleled. Many figures gathered in front of the Boundary Battle Steel. Each of them had a powerful aura and emitted an extraordinary might. Some were elegant, some were domineering, Some are like fairies descending to the mortal world, and some are like rulers patrolling the world. Since ancient times, those who were able to enter the great thousand-battle domain were all martial emperors and above. On the other hand, those who were able to traverse all the way from the first pass of immortality to finally arrive at the 49th pass of immortality were the most extraordinary and peerless figures in the Emperor realm. They were ruthless figures that were one in a million. Without a doubt, those near the domain battle steel were all peerless figures. Senior Lin Sun came to this place to test his ranking in the past. At that time, he had yet to verify his Tao and reach the end of ancestral Emperor realm. But now, it is said that he is the most dazzling giant of a mortal realm in eternal true world. Someone sighed. Lin Sun, the peerless Emperor realm experts nearby, narrowed their eyes with different expressions on their faces. There are talents in every generation. The era of Lin Sun is destined to turn over. The world is destined to belong to us in the future. Someone's eyes shone brightly, filled with ambition. That's right. We've gone through countless battles and trials of life and death to reach Chaotian City. In the future, we will definitely shine brilliantly in the eternal true world and create our own legends. Yes, that's how a real man should be. For a time, many voices resounded, and all of them were complacent and heroic. Lin Sun, Xian Fei Ling, and the others looked at each other, and they could not help but smile. With their current status, they would naturally not care about these things. Instead, they found it very interesting because they had also walked through this path in the past. In a great river, the new generation would surpass the old, and the new generation would surpass the old. However, in Xianfei Ling and Jin Tianxian Yu's eyes, if the new generation after generation wanted to break the records Lin Sun had created in the past, it was practically impossible. Shameless boasting. Suddenly, a cold and indifferent voice rang in the air, causing the great emperors who were filled with heroic spirits to frown. They looked over at the same time. A young man in hemp robes with a sword on his back walked over. May I ask all of you here, how many of you have been in End Emperor realm for less than 500 years? The people looked at each other. They did not quite understand what he meant. Then let me ask one more thing. How many of you have been in End Emperor realm for less than 200 years? The young man in hemp robes with a sword on his back swept his gaze over the people present. In an instant, the atmosphere became even quieter. The people could vaguely guess what the young man in hemp robes with a sword on his back wanted to say. "Why is no one saying anything?" said the young man in hemp robes with a sword on his back. "Fine, I will tell you directly. When Senior Lin Sun was in End Emperor realm, he had only cultivated for less than 100 years. Until now, he has cultivated for less than 400 years. In terms of age, he might not even be as old as most of you, but he is now an immortal giant whose name shakes the entire eternal true world. Do you know what an immortal giant is? It's someone whose cultivation has reached transcendent realm. Do you know what it means to shake the world? It means that the entire 9 heavens knows his name. The moment he said this, the entire place became silent. Everyone was stunned, and their emotions surged. Reaching End Emperor realm in less than 100 years? Reaching transcendent realm in less than 400 years? Shaking the entire 9 heavens? Every single word was like a huge mountain pressing down on the hearts of the peerless great emperors. Some of them looked ashamed, while others were stunned. Some of them looked unconvinced and said coldly, "Who are you? How do you know about Lin Sun's background? Just based on what you said, who knows whether it's true or not?" The young man in hemp robes with a sword on his back said, "Whether you believe me or not, it's up to you." After that, he turned around and left. "This guy seems to be very familiar with you." Xian Jiuyin, who saw all of this, could not help but be surprised. If my disciple is still not familiar with me, his master, wouldn't that be too outrageous? Lin Sun said and chased after him. Previously, they had concealed their presence, so no one noticed them. But now, when Lin Sun chased after him, the young man in hemp robes with a sword on his back instantly became alert. He said without turning his head, "What? You're not convinced and want to fight? This Chaotian city is covered by the power of order. Why don't we fight outside the city? His voice was calm, but full of arrogance and confidence. A laugh sounded. Yo, we haven't seen each other for so many years, and now you dare to challenge me. The young man in hemp robes with a sword on his back shuddered and turned around quickly. When he saw the face of the person who spoke, his previously calm and composed face could not help but show a hint of astonishment, and his eyes widened bit by bit. After a while, he seemed to have reacted and cried out involuntarily, "Master, why are you here?" Lin Sun said with a smile. "Speaking of which, it's quite a coincidence. I just arrived in this city, but I didn't expect to run into you." The young man in hemp robes, with a sword on his back in front of him, was Su Bai. After many years, Su Bai had set foot in the Emperor realm of Zhu Shui and had reached the 8th level, not far from the ancestor realm of Zhu Shui Emperor. This surprised Lin Sun. Back then, he had returned to the ancient Desolation realm and personally rescued Su Bai, who was fighting in the Great Wall of Imperial Pass. At that time, Su Bai was only in the Quasi-Emperor realm. Now, in just over 100 years, Su Bai had become a peak existence in the 8th level of the Emperor realm. This progress was indeed great. Of course, compared with Tang Jiang, who had been staying in the Yuan Church to cultivate, he was a little inferior. After all, one was placed in the starry sky, ancient road to be raised, while the other had been carefully cultivated by a group of old monsters in the Yuan Church since childhood. However, Su Bai's temperament and state of mind, which had been tempered by countless bloody killings, were far from comparable to Tang Jiang. At this time, Summer Solstice, Xian Jiuyin, and Jintian Xianyue all came over. "Is this the disciple named Su Bai you mentioned?" Xian Jiuyin looked up and down at Su Bai and could not help but be amazed. "Yes," Lin Sun said and introduced Su Bai to everyone. Until this moment, Su Bai still felt like he was dreaming. Over the years, he had crossed the starry sky and killed all the way from the first immortal pass to Chaotian City. No matter where he went, he could hear people talking about his master. He would often fantasize about what it would be like when he met his master in the eternal true world. How could he have imagined that he would meet his master in this Chaotian City? It was too unexpected and very pleasant. Let's go and find a place to have a good chat. Lin Sun also had a lot of things in his heart to ask Su Bai. "Master, wait a moment." Su Bai looked a little uncomfortable and said, "I still have to wait for someone." "Who?" Lin Sun raised his eyebrows. At this moment, a sweet voice sounded in the distance. "Husband, you're actually here." Accompanied by the voice, a slender figure, fair-skinned, and beautiful woman in a blue dress came over. Lin Sun immediately recognized that this woman was Gu Shi. Back in the ancient Desolation domain, it was Gu Shi who trekked all the way to the Lin family's residence to ask for help from Lin Sun, so that Lin Sun could reach the Great Wall of the Imperial Pass in time and rescue Su Bai, who was trapped in a helpless place. "It turns out that you've become cultivation companions," Lin Sun said with a smile. At this time, Gu Shi also saw Lin Sun's appearance clearly and could not help but be surprised. "Senior, how come it's you?" Su Bai quickly explained, but Gu Shi still looked very surprised. Obviously, she never expected to see Lin Sun here. "Let's go. I remember that there's a Baofeng building in this Chaotian city, and the divine wine, Winding Stream Scoop sold there is superb. I'll take you there to have a taste," Lin Sun said with a smile. Back then, the insane martial Uncle Kong, Ju, appeared outside Baofeng building and clamored to drink Winding Stream Scoop. In an elegant room of Baofeng building, jars of Winding Stream Scoop were served one after another, and there were all kinds of delicacies. Lin Sun and the others sat down one by one, drinking and chatting happily. However, just a moment later, there was a knock on the closed door of the room. Bang, bang, bang. The knock on the door was very rough and heavy, and a cold voice also sounded outside. "Su Bai, I know you're inside. Come out if you have the guts." Lin Sun and the others looked at each other, and then at Su Bai. Su Bai frowned. "Master, wait here for a moment. I'll be back soon." As he spoke, he stood up. Gu Shi also got up. "I'll go with you. It's just a small matter." "Ashi, stay and talk to Master. I'll solve it." Subai pushed the door open and went out. I'll continue to add chapters tonight. In the next chapter, Lin Sun would not show off in front of his disciple, so don't scold the plot first. I'm really scared of being scolded, so I'll give you a warning first. Chapter 3061. As soon as Subai walked out of the room, he closed the door. The atmosphere in the room was much quieter, and only Xia Ji was eating and drinking by herself. Child, shall I go and have a look? Jin Tian Xianyue couldn't help asking. Lin Sun shook his head. Let him solve it by himself. You just got in your butt warm, and now you're being targeted by your enemies. I'm afraid your disciple has caused quite a lot of trouble. Xian Jiuyin tutade. Lin Sun smiled and said, The rise of the strong must be accompanied by a storm of blood. Over the years, Subai must have made a lot of enemies on the way to Chaotian City. When I came to Chaotian City, I caused more trouble. It's normal. Gu Shi said softly, Senior, you're right. Subai often said that all the disputes in the world are whetstones to temper his cultivation. He is never afraid of trouble, but he is afraid that there are not enough whetstones. Lin Sun couldn't help but feel gratified. With such a state of mind, the great Tao is expected. He asked, When did you leave the ancient desolation domain? Gu Shi said it was about 60 years ago. At that time, Subai had already reached the Emperor realm. He wholeheartedly wanted to pursue a higher path, so he took me across the starry sky and came to this vast 1,000-battle domain. However, we didn't rush. Subai regarded it as a cultivation and stopped along the way. Until now, we just arrived at Chaotian City. 60 years ago, Lin Sun pondered. What was the situation of the Lin family when you left? When he was in seclusion in Yuan Church to prepare for the immortal path, Fu Wenli and other deputy pavilion masters mobilized the power of the immortal giants behind them to go to the ancient desolation domain in order to disturb his state of mind, trying to capture his relatives and friends. Later, Xian Failing gave a jade slip to Lin Sun, which was handed over by Zhao Jingxian to the Xian family, and then passed on to Yuan Church. There is only one sentence written on the jade slip. Our Lin family is hidden in the ultimate land. Don't worry, don't worry. It was signed by Zhao Jingxian. It was also this jade slip that swept away Lin Sun's worries in those years. But it was foreseeable that the force sent by Fu Wenli had indeed entered the lower realm of the ancient desolation domain. Otherwise, the Lin family in Xiao Empire would not have moved to the ultimate land. Gu Shi sorted out his thoughts for a moment before he spoke tirelessly. After Lin Sun left, the spirit of heaven and earth in the lower realm had been bursting, attracting the attention of the entire ancient desolation domain. The original Taoist sect, which was established by Lin Sun, also flourished and became the top orthodoxy in the mortal world. Even the demon forces in the Soul Oblivion Sea did not dare to offend it. But 70 years ago, a group of extremely strong people suddenly came to the lower realm to capture Lin. By name, Lin as they were Lin's family, they as possible. At that time, the head of the Xian family, Xian Shangchen, immediately arrived at the primeval Dao sect where the Lin family was located and told them the news. Therefore, they were able to evacuate from the Xiao Empire before the massacre. In the end, all the people of Lin family in Yuanshi Taoist sect moved into the secret world of Kor in the ultimate land. Except for losing their original territory, they did not suffer any loss. After about 10 years, Su Bai and Gu Shi set off and left the ultimate ruins, beginning their cultivation journey to the vast 1,000-battle domain. Knowing this, Lin Sun felt a lot more at ease. If I see your father when I go back this time, I'll invite him for a drink. Lin Sun looked at Xian Jiuyin. Xian Jiuyin smiled and said, Invite him? Why? Just invite me. Why not? Come on, let's have a drink first. Lin Sun raised his glass with a smile and drank it up. Originally, he planned to ask about the situation of his relatives and friends, but he gave up after thinking about it. Su Bai and Gu, she had been away for about 60 years. They were doomed to not know what had happened in these 60 years. It was best to go back and see for himself. It didn't take long for Su Bai to come back, looking calm. Is it settled? Asked Lin Sun. Su Bai nodded and said, Yes. Thank you for your concern just now. Gushi could not help but glance at him. A small matter? He had made many enemies along the way, and they were all powerhouses from the big forces of the eternal true world. How could it be a small matter? However, seeing that Su-bai was unwilling to mention it in front of Lin Sun, Gushi finally held back. Lin Sun smiled and said, "It's a blessing for us master and disciple to reunite here today. Come, let's drink." Su-bai also smiled, picked up his glass, and said, "A toast to master." The banquet lasted for several hours before it ended. Finally, Lin Sun asked, "Do you want to go back to the starry sky, ancient road with me?" Su-bai hesitated for a moment and said, "Master, I want to follow the path you took back then and kill my way to the eternal God realm in one go. However, I'll still listen to your arrangements." Lin Sun nodded and said, "In that case, I won't force you. Let's part ways here. I won't let you down." Su-bai bowed and saluted. "As long as you stick to your path," Lin Sun said with a smile. On the same day, he left Chaotian City with Summer Solstice, Xian Jiuyin, and Jin Tian Xinhua. After watching Lin Sun and the others disappear, Su-bai retracted his gaze and said with emotion, "I haven't seen you for many years, master. Your power has become stronger." Before leaving, Lin Sun gave him a jade slip imprinted with his cultivation experience, which was now carefully stored by him. Gushi could not help but ask, "Husband, why didn't you tell master about the situation you were facing at the banquet?" Su-bai smiled and said, "If I bother master with these trivial matters, it would seem that I'm too incompetent as a disciple. Don't worry. No matter how dangerous it is, I'll protect you with my life." Gushi sighed softly and said, "You just have to be strong. With my current reputation in the eternal true world, I can easily solve the enemies you're facing now." Su-bai patted Gushi on the shoulder and said, "I know you're worried about my safety, but there are some things that are best done by yourself." Gushi nodded in agreement. She did not tell Su-bai that when Lin Sun left, he had given her a jade talisman and told her that if she encountered a killing tribulation that she could not resolve, she only needed to use her own cultivation to activate the jade talisman. Sure enough, Senior knows my husband's temperament the best. You know that if I give this jade talisman to my husband, he will definitely not accept it. Gushi sighed in her heart. Brother Lin, your disciple is really not simple. On the way, Xian Jiuyin could not help but sigh with emotion. In him, I see some similar temperament and temperament to yours. Both of you stick to your heart and stick to the path, but he's different from you. His temperament is as sharp as a sword. He seems to be extremely restrained in front of you, but when facing enemies, he won't restrain himself at all. He'd better be different from me, Lin Sun said casually. Those who learn from me will live, and those who imitate me will die. It's the best thing for him to seek his own path. Xian Jiuyin thought about it, and could not help but ask, "Are you really not worried that he will encounter trouble in Chaotian City?" Lin Sun smiled and said, "If my disciple can't even solve these problems, it would seem that I'm too incompetent as his master." Of course, he did not tell Xian Jiuyin that when he left, he gave Gushi a jade talisman, which was imprinted with his willpower. Even if he encountered a transcendent realm great perfection, it could easily kill him. Lin Sun did not delay the rest of the journey. He drove a small boat and crossed the boundless 1,000 battle domains, 49 immortal passes, in just an hour, and entered the boundless world. 10 days later, a small boat carried Lin Sun and the others across many starry world plains. According to Lin Sun's estimation, they would arrive at the starry ancient path in another 3 days. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. From then on, Lin Sun encountered many figures trekking in the starry sky. Almost all of them were figures above the Emperor realm. Occasionally, he even saw figures of immortal figures. This surprised Lin Sun. Of course, among those immortal figures, the strongest was only in the heavenly longevity realm, great perfection. They were nothing in Lin Sun's eyes. However, this was the boundless world. It had long surpassed the boundaries of the eternal world. But now, there were so many old fellows heading in the same direction. This was very abnormal. According to Lin Sun's knowledge, only the top 10 starry worlds in the boundless world had immortal figures. Most of them were old monsters who had endured for countless years on the path of cultivation. Could it be that they're going to the starry sky ancient path like us? Xian failing joked. Maybe, Lin Sun said. Suddenly, he sensed an immortal-level aura sweeping over from the distant starry sky. He immediately went forward. Fellow Taoist, please wait. It was a black-robed old man. His aura was extremely strong, and he was accompanied by a group of Emperor Realm figures. Originally, the black-robed old man frowned, seemingly displeased. However, when he sensed a trace of aura unintentionally leaking from Lin Sun, his body trembled. He immediately cupped his hands and greeted, "I'm Tianqi from the Tianxian world." "Greetings, fellow Taoist." Lin Sun nodded slightly and said, "Pardon me for asking, but along the way, I've seen many people passing through the starry sky and heading in one direction. Why?" When Tianqi was surprised, "Fellow Taoist, don't you know?" Lin Sun said, "Please enlighten me." When Tianqi hurriedly said, "I wouldn't dare to teach you. I only know that around 10 years ago, there was news that an unbelievable change had occurred in the ruins of End on the ancient path in the starry sky, and many peerless fortunes were born there." After a pause, he continued, "But after all, it was a rumor, and few people took it seriously. But not long ago, there was conclusive news that someone obtained a heaven-defying fortune in the ultimate. It was said that it was a Taoist sword filled with eternal aura. Its origin was amazing." Speaking of this, when Tianqi's eyes also became hot. After such news came out, the whole boundless world knew about it. Those people you saw before should be planning to go to the ultimate to find out, just like me. Hearing this, Lin Sun couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. 10 years ago, there was a shocking change in the ultimate. More updates. Chapter 3062. After thinking for a moment, Lin Sun cupped his hands and said, "Thank you." Then he stepped aside. When Tianqi relaxed, as if relieved of a heavy burden, he was sure that Lin Sun was really asking about something and not blocking the way. "Goodbye." He hurried away with the people around him. When he could no longer see Lin Sun and the others, an emperor beside him asked in confusion, "Supreme Elder, who was that person just now? Why are you so polite?" When Tianqi's eyes flickered as he said, "An extremely terrifying existence. Earlier, he intentionally leaked a trace of his aura to let me know. Otherwise, with my cultivation level, I wouldn't be able to see exactly how high he is. However, what I can be sure of is that as long as he wants to, killing someone like me would be as easy as blowing off dust." Everyone around him gasped and were extremely astounded in their hearts. "Let's go." When Tianqi didn't dare to stay any longer and led the people on their way. At the beginning of the primordial times, the origin energy of the ruins' end had already dried up. Why would such a shocking change occur now? Moreover, a Tao sword that is branded with the aura of eternity has even appeared. Xian Jiuyin was puzzled. "I don't care about any shocking change. I'm just worried that all the strong people in the world will be attracted there and my friends and family will be affected." Lin Sun frowned. "Let's go to the ultimate land first, then to the Xian family." Xian Jiuyin made a decision. Lin Sun nodded. Next, they hurried with all their might. Along the way, they met more and more figures, all moving across the starry sky like a group of whistling meteors. It was a spectacular scene. However, these figures were soon overtaken by Lin Sun's boat. Before they could see clearly, the boat had already disappeared in the vast starry sky. "We're here." Lin Sun reached the 3-day journey in just one day. When he saw the familiar starry sky ancient path, Lin Sun was slightly excited. It had been more than 100 years since he left the starry sky ancient path. "Brother Lin, did you notice that the rules of heaven and earth of the starry sky ancient path seem to have changed?" Xian Jiuyin glanced around the starry sky and couldn't help asking. "It's indeed different from before." Lin Sun nodded. The starry sky ancient path had 9 major starfields, and each starfield had numerous worlds. Among them, the central starfield where the Grand Mist world was located was the core of the starry sky ancient path. At this moment, they had only arrived at the outer region of the starry sky ancient path, but they immediately sensed that the laws of heaven and earth covering the starry sky ancient path had changed. In the past, the laws of the heavens and the earth were extremely damaged, and it was what cultivators called the heaven Tao is incomplete. So, it was to the extent that it depended on luck to be able to step foot onto the absolute path towards the Tao throughout the countless years of the past. And the strongest existence in the entire ancient path of the starry sky was merely at the imperial ancestor realm. Furthermore, he wasn't even sovereign ancestor Zhu Shui. He was only a realm 9 ancestor. It wasn't that cultivators didn't want to advance a step further on their path towards the Tao, and it was instead because the Grand Tao was incomplete. It seemed like the path towards the Tao had been broken, and it was impossible to advance a step further. At the same time, due to the incomplete laws of the world, the entire starry sky ancient path could only withstand the power of the 9th stage martial ancestor level. Once an expert that surpassed this realm appeared, it would cause a drastic change in the world. Yet now, Lin Sun sensed that the laws of the heavens and the earth in the starry sky ancient path had actually become complete and powerful a long time ago. Moreover, it surged with a primitive and ancient fluctuation of vitality. The current starry sky ancient path can already support it. Immortal level power. Lin Sun sensed it calmly. He probed it bit by bit, and when the energy he emanated was barely at the perfection stage of the heavenly longevity realm, it just happened to be the limit that the laws of the starry sky could endure. This was merely the outer area of the starry sky ancient path. Moreover, Lin Sun sensed that the deeper he went into the starry sky ancient path, the denser the ancient vitality that suffused the laws of the heavens and the earth was. Brother Lin, this change is too shocking. Perhaps the 9th stage martial ancestor level was the supreme existence in the starry sky ancient path in the past, but now, it's sufficient to give birth to existences at the immortal realm. Xian Jiuyin couldn't help but be visibly moved. Only a few years had passed, yet the starry sky ancient path had actually undergone such a shocking change, and it had completely exceeded their expectations. Over 10 years ago, this starry sky ancient path was an extremely declining starry sky, and it was ranked outside the top 100 in the vast thousand worlds. But according to its current trend of transformation, it'll probably become on par with the top 3 starry skies in the vast thousand worlds. A group of figures appeared extremely far away in the sky, and some sighed with emotion. "Ancestor, why is that?" One of them humbly asked for guidance. "Have you noticed the vitality in the laws of the heavens and the earth? It's said that this vitality was born in the ultimate ruin of the 4 great Tao ruins, and the ultimate ruin is the origin of all Taos in the universe. If we trace its source, even the eternal true world's essence power is somewhat related to the ultimate ruin." The ultimate ruin. All of this is related to the shocking change that occurred in the ultimate ruin? That's right. 10 years ago, an unpredictable change occurred in the ultimate ruin. From then on, a primitive and ancient vitality surged out and spread through the starry sky ancient path, causing the broken laws of the heavens and the earth to transform. In just a short 10 years, the starry sky ancient path has become completely different. Isn't the ultimate ruin a little too mystical? Didn't they say that its essence power had been exhausted a long time ago? Even a withered tree will have its spring, and the ultimate ruin is one of the 4 great Tao ruins. It's not surprising that such a shocking change has occurred. Instead, the starry sky ancient path's luck has changed, and it has monopolized the kismet of the heavens. If my guess is correct, the starry sky ancient path's ranking in the vast thousand worlds will continue to rise. As they talked, the group of people had already moved to the starry sky. It turns out that all these changes are related to the ultimate ruin. Xian Jiuyin couldn't help but be surprised. It's hard to say whether it's a blessing or a curse. Lin Sun frowned slightly. You've seen along the way. Strong people from all the major starry sky of the vast thousand worlds are like sharks smelling blood. They're willing to do anything in order to compete for opportunities and good fortune. For the creatures of the starry sky ancient path, this is a great disaster. If the forces in the starry sky ancient path can't resist this invasion, the world is destined to be controlled by those outsiders in the future. They'll take over the place of the magpie's nest. Of course, in the long run, the rise of the starry sky ancient path is unstoppable. This is a blessing for all the cultivators in the world. Hearing this, Xianjuin couldn't help but frown. After all, the starry sky ancient path has been declining for too long. In the past, the most powerful people were only the ninth realm ancestors. This shocking change has only lasted for more than 10 years. I'm afraid there can't be many powerful figures emerging. Under such circumstances, how can they resist the invasion of those outsiders? Monopolizing the kismet of the heavens and enjoying the good fortune, we should bear the burden. This is the general trend. Shaking his head, Lin Sun stopped thinking about it and continued on his way. Brother Lin, are you just going to watch the starry sky ancient path being invaded by those outsiders? On the way, Xianjuin couldn't help asking. We just come back. The previous analysis is just speculation. We don't know the current situation of the starry sky ancient path. What we need to do now is to understand the situation. Lin Sun said casually. He didn't have any sense of belonging to the starry sky ancient path. On his way to rise, he was suppressed and hated by the major forces of the ancient wilderness and even the primordial world. What really made Lin Sun feel a sense of belonging was the mortal world, the world where Xiao Empire was located. Several hours later, the outline of the primordial world appeared in Lin Sun's vision. This was the first world of the starry sky ancient path, carrying many memories of Lin Sun. However, Lin Sun didn't plan to go there because he was worried about the safety of his relatives and friends. However, just as he was about to continue to teleport to the ultimate ruins, an earth-shattering sound of fighting suddenly came from the distant starry sky. Chase him. We can't let that old thing escape. Hurry up. A thunderous shout echoed in the starry sky. A figure was fleeing in the void, with a group of figures chasing after him. Along the way, Lin Sun had seen many similar scenes, so he wasn't surprised. He didn't intend to pay attention to it, but when he saw the figure being chased, he stopped. The man's body was stained with blood and was seriously injured. His thin cheeks were pale and transparent, and the Taoist sword in his hand was broken. He looked extremely embarrassed. Emperor Greenleaf, Lin Sun was stunned. In his mind, he recalled the scenes when he went to the black-yellow Taoist court to participate in the Battle of Tao. At that time, the Taoist courts held the Battle of Tao in order to select a group of young strongmen to go to the forbidden area of ancient immortals to explore opportunities. It was in the black-yellow Taoist court at that time that Lin Sun met Emperor Greenleaf. He was an old acquaintance of Ruosa World and also the martial uncle of Taishu Hong, the headmaster of the black-yellow Taoist court. Lin Sun had almost forgotten these old things, but he didn't expect to see him under such circumstances. Kill. Just when Lin Sun was in a daze, Emperor Greenleaf had been caught up by the enemy and surrounded. Greenleaf, hand over the black-yellow heaven-suppressing token, and I can let you die quickly. Among those enemies, the leader was a man in a gray robe. When he spoke, he waved a bronze halberd in his hand and attacked fiercely. What diffused from his body was the power of Emperor Juexian. The group of experts around the gray-robed man were either great emperors who had stepped into the peak or Realm 9 ancestors. In the starry sky ancient path, such a lineup was amazing and could be called the existence at the top of Tao. It's over. Emperor Greenleaf felt bitter in his heart, but his expression was extremely firm. He said in a hoarse voice, "Even if I destroy the black-yellow heaven-suppressing token, I will never let you succeed." As he said, he took out a golden token from his sleeve and was about to destroy it. "How dare you?" The man in a gray robe was furious. The halberd in his hand roared and spread out the surging light of Tao. At this critical moment, he completely imprisoned and suppressed Emperor Greenleaf. "Give it to me." The man in a gray robe grabbed the golden token in Emperor Greenleaf's hand. At this moment, despair appeared in Emperor Greenleaf's eyes. But also at this moment, a tall figure appeared in front of Emperor Greenleaf and said softly, "Senior Greenleaf, long time no see." Chapter 3063. As the tall figure appeared, bang! The power of the gray-robed man's grab silently turned into bubbles and dissipated. Boom! Following that, the attacks of the other people nearby were all blocked and neutralized before they could even get close to him. The gray-robed man's pupils shrank as he realized something was wrong. He shouted, "Who are you? How dare you stop the vast floating divine court?" The scene quieted down. The gray-robed man and his companions looked gloomy and uncertain. Escaping death, Emperor Ancestor Greenleaf looked incredulously at the figure in front of him. You're Emperor Daoyuan?" Lin Sun nodded. "So Senior still remembers me." Emperor Ancestor Greenleaf said excitedly, "It's really you. I thought it was a dream. Didn't you go to the other side of the starry sky?" Lin Sun said, "I just came back." "Senior, who are these people? Why are they chasing you?" Emperor Ancestor Greenleaf suddenly realized how dangerous the situation was. He said with a pale face, "Run, they are from a mystical rising star field. There are terrifying existences at the immortal level in their force." "Want to leave?" "Too late. Not far away." The gray-robed man who had been ignored said gloomily, "What, Emperor Daoyuan? You must die for offending the vast floating divine court." Slap! An invisible palm fiercely slapped the gray-robed man's body. His body instantly exploded into pieces, and even his primordial spirit was reduced to nothingness. Xian Jiuyin smiled mockingly. "In the past, Emperor Juetian was an existence we could only look up to, but now you are just like grass." One slap killed the Emperor Juetian. The expert who came with the gray-robed man shivered, and his expression changed completely. "Don't waste my master's time." As she spoke, Jin Tian Xinyue waved her fair hand, and a strand of sword energy swept through the starry sky. All the experts that were pursuing Imperial Ancestor Greenleaf were annihilated like pieces of paper. Emperor Ancestor Greenleaf was stunned, completely shaken. They were experts from the vast floating divine court of the mystical rising star field. But Lin Sun and his companions didn't care at all. "Senior, we are safe now," Lin Sun said softly. "Can you tell me why they are chasing you?" Emperor Ancestor Greenleaf took a deep breath, calmed his mind, and told the whole story. 10 years ago, the shocking changes in the endless ruins attracted the attention of the major starry sky planes of the vast thousand worlds. Since then, the top forces of the major starry sky planes have come one after another. The vasty divine court from the Godrai star domain was one of them. Everyone knew that after this shocking event, the ancient path of stars would undergo a heaven-shaking transformation. If one cultivated here in the future, they would definitely benefit immensely. Thus, these foreign forces made the same decision almost at the same time to establish their own forces in the starry sky ancient path. The most direct and effective way to establish a force was undoubtedly to annex the original forces of the starry sky ancient road and replace them. That is, to occupy a magpie's nest. Under such circumstances, the starry sky ancient path's 6 great Tao courts were immediately targeted by the foreign forces. At this point in time, the Universe Tao Court, Demon Court, Panwu Tao Court, and Primordial Tao Court had been successively devoured and collapsed a long time ago, and the forces and territories they controlled were all occupied by foreign powers. Those experts who chose to submit still had a chance to live, while those who chose to resist were slaughtered without exception. The Black-Yellow Tao Court was no exception. It encountered a great disaster and was targeted by the Vast Sea Divine Court. The entire sect fell apart overnight. Only a small group of people, including Emperor Ancestor Greenleaf, were lucky enough to survive. And the reason why Emperor Ancestor Greenleaf was hunted down was that he had the black-yellow heaven-suppressing token in his hand. With this treasure, he could use the power of order that covered the sect. After understanding this, Lin Sun was stunned. Originally, he had returned this time with the intention of seeking revenge on those enemy forces. For example, among the 6 great Tao courts, the Guiyuan Tao Court was established by eldest senior brother Dojang Emperor. The Black-Yellow Tao Court had always remained neutral, and the other 4 great Tao courts were all enemies of Lin Sun. But now he knew that these enemy forces had all met with disaster. The impermanence of the world could be seen from this. Moreover, according to Emperor Ancestor Greenleaf, the 10 great war clans in the Starry Sky ancient path had also encountered great disasters in these years. Some died, some fled, and their fates were extremely tragic. In other words, in the current Starry Sky ancient path, most of the top forces that had survived for countless years had disappeared under the invasion of foreign forces. The key was that although the shocking changes in the ultimate had caused the laws of heaven and earth to change, it had also attracted the covetous eyes of the top forces of the major Starry Sky planes. As a result, in recent years, everywhere on the Starry Sky ancient path had been a bloody scene of slaughter and battle. In particular, the primordial world, which was known as the first world in the Starry Sky, had become a place that foreign forces fought to seize. It could be said that the current Starry Sky ancient path was no longer the place that Lin Sun was familiar with in the past. And the Starry Sky ancient path had become so turbulent, it could be imagined how chaotic the situation in the ultimate, the land of origin that had undergone a shocking change, was. This made Lin Sun's heart tighten again. Everyone in the Lin family was in the core world of the ultimate, and it could be said that they were in the teeth of the storm. How could they not be affected by such a storm? Mister, I want to go home. Suddenly, Jean Tian Xinyue spoke, a trace of worry on her beautiful face. After understanding the situation, she clearly thought of the Jean Tian clan in the White Sovereign Galaxy, and her heart was filled with worry. Xian Jiuyin sighed. Xinyue, let me say something that is critical. Back then, the Jean Tian clan was worried that they would be implicated by Brother Lin, so they ordered you to disassociate yourself from Brother Lin, or else you would be expelled from the clan. But you refused to do so, so you are no longer a member of the Jean Tian clan. Lin Sun said, breaking the bones still connects the tendons. Back then, the Jean Tian clan was trying to protect themselves, and although they did go overboard, it was also because of me that Miss Xianyue suffered such treatment. No matter what, there must be relatives in the Jean Tian clan that Miss Xianyue cares about, so it is only right for her to go back and visit them. Jean Tian Xuanyue's clear eyes were filled with gratitude. Mister, you understand me the best. On my way to the ultimate, we will pass by the White Sovereign Galaxy, so let's go to the Jean Tian clan together. Lin Sun made a decision. Then, he looked at Emperor Ancestor Greenleaf and handed a bottle of medicinal pills to him. Senior, these are healing pills. Please accept them. The world is in chaos now, so please take care. Greenleaf's expression was complicated, and he refused Lin Sun's medicinal pills. Back then, the Black-Yellow Celestial Court was worried that we would get into trouble, so we have always maintained a neutral attitude and never gave any help to Mount Mindheart. Now that you have saved my life, I'm already very surprised and grateful. How can I still accept your medicinal pills? He cupped his hands. Emperor Daoyuan, I will never forget your kindness in saving my life. If there is a chance in the future, I will definitely repay you. Goodbye. After saying that, he turned and left. The injured and broken figure looked extremely bleak and desolate. Watching him leave, Lin Sun couldn't help but sigh. Back then, the Black-Yellow Celestial Court said that they were neutral, but in fact, they were worried that they would get into trouble, so they had been watching the world from the sidelines. There was nothing wrong with this in itself, but it was obvious that Emperor Ancestor Greenleaf didn't help Lin Sun back then, and now Lin Sun saved his life, which made him feel very ashamed. That was why he refused Lin Sun's elixir and left. This Emperor Ancestor Greenleaf has some strength of character. Xian Jiuyin said, in this world, no one can stay out of it. The mistake of the Black-Yellow Celestial Court is that they think they can remain neutral in the world situation. This attitude can indeed not offend anyone, but it is impossible to get true friendship. Lin Sun said, in the past, the Black-Yellow Celestial Court was one of the 6 major Taoist courts, so there's no need to worry about any disaster. But now, shaking his head, Lin Sun didn't say anything more. Xian Jiuyin understood and said with a smile, if the Black-Yellow Celestial Court gave you a little help in those days, when you come back today and see them suffering such a disaster, I am afraid that you would have already gone to avenge them instead of being as indifferent as you are now. Lin Sun didn't comment. The ways of the world were like drinking water, and only one knew whether it was warm or cold. Let's go to the White Emperor Star area. Lin Sun drove a boat and took them straight on the road. There were 9 major star areas on the starry sky ancient road, and the White Emperor Star area was the closest to the Central Star area. And the Jintian clan was the first emperor clan in the White Bottom Star area. Under the invasion of the foreign forces, a great force like the Jintian clan that controlled the star area was destined to be unable to stay out of it. In fact, it was true. Recently, the Jintian clan had fallen into a precarious situation of internal and external troubles. The Daheng Sword House from the Heaven Capital World had ordered that the Jintian clan only had 2 choices: to surrender or to be exterminated. The deadline for the Jintian clan to make a decision was 3 days. The forces from the Daheng Sword House had already gathered in an area only 10,000 miles away from the Jintian clan. The army was pressing on and would be sent out at any time. At this time, there was also a serious disagreement in the Jintian clan. A group of big shots of the clan were unwilling to surrender and wanted to fight the Daheng Sword House to the end. They believed that as long as they could hold on for a period of time, a large number of powerful figures would emerge from the Jintian clan as the rules of heaven and earth became stronger and stronger, and it was very likely that a real immortal would be born. But another group of big shots opposed this. They believed that in the current situation, in order to preserve the clan's life, they had to swallow the humiliation and choose to surrender to the Daheng Sword House. This disagreement made the Jintian clan become at daggers drawn, and they were incompatible like fire and water. The Daheng Sword House gave the Jintian clan only 3 days to consider. But in just 1 day, internal strife broke out in the Jintian clan. A group of big shots led by the great elder, Jintian Wuhong, suddenly took action and captured the big shots led by the clan master, Jintian Jinyuan, and firmly controlled the power of the clan. On the same day, the great elder, Jintian Wuhong, led a group of big shots to surrender to the Daheng Sword House. Thank you, Awadara Guild Master, for your reward. I will continue to update tonight. In addition, on the 30th of the month, Goldfish will make a big profit to celebrate this month's reward. At that time, I will try to make 7 to 10 updates. Chapter 3064. The Jintian Clan. Within the clan's main hall, the Grand Elder, Jintian Wuhong, led a group of great figures and stood solemnly. On the central seat was a white-robed man that was handsome like a youth. Lightning flowed within his eyes as they blinked, and a terrifying aura suffused the air, causing everyone in the hall to tremble with fear. Fang Xiaoyan, the Daheng Sword House's supreme elder, an eternal existence that had stepped foot into the heavenly longevity realm. Even though he was just a single person, his aura oppressed all the great figures of the Jintian clan to the point of lowering their heads. If you choose to submit, then you should act like you're submitting. I heard that a group of people in your clan refuse to submit and want to fight my Daheng Sword House to the end. May I know where these people are now? Fang Xiaoyan spoke indifferently from the central seat. His words caused the expressions of Jintian Wuhong and the others to change, and they realized that the situation was bad. Senior, those sinners have been captured and imprisoned in the forbidden area of the clan, and it's impossible for them to cause any more trouble. Don't worry, Senior. From today onward, my Jintian clan will definitely follow the lead of the Daheng Sword House and obey its orders. Jintian Wuhong cupped his hands solemnly. Obey its orders? Well said. Fang Xiaoyan clapped and smiled. Since it's like that, then bring those sinners over right now. Jintian Wuhong's heart sank as he vaguely sensed what Fang Xiaoyan intended to do. What? You said you'd obey its orders just now, but you're hesitating now? Fang Xiaoyan frowned, and a terrifying pressure spread out, causing Jintian Wuhong's hairs to stand on end, and he was almost suffocating. He didn't dare hesitate any longer and gritted his teeth. Men, bring those sinners over. Yes. Someone immediately left hastily. In next to no time, the patriarch Jintian Jingyuan and over 10 great figures that had been imprisoned were brought over and appeared before Fang Xiaoyan. Jintian Wuhong shouted, All of you quickly kneel down and repent your crimes to Senior Fong. Perhaps your lives will be spared because all of you have turned over a new leaf. Tui, someone spat in disdain. Jin Tian Wu Hong, you traitor, you're bound to go down in history as a stink. Someone cursed furiously. If you want to kill us or torture us, do as you please. But if you want us to submit to you, there's no way. Some people had calm expressions, as if they were facing death with equanimity. All of a sudden, Jin Tianwu Hong and the others were both anxious and furious. These idiots, what kind of situation was it now? Yet they were still clamoring like this. Did they really not want their lives anymore? Sure enough, a bunch of tough bones. On the central seat, Fang Xiaoyan's gaze was like lightning as he spoke indifferently. Since that's the case, there's no point in staying. Jin Tianwu Hong. Yes. Jin Tianwu Hong lowered his head and said. Fang Xiaoyan's expression was cold as he said, since all of you have chosen to submit, then I'll give all of you a chance to express your loyalty. Step forward one by one and kill a sinner of the clan. Once this matter is accomplished, the lives of your entire Jintian clan will be protected by my eternal sword house, and your meteoric rise is just around the corner. Jintian, Wu Hong, and the others felt as if they were struck by lightning. They were stupefied. They were to personally take action and kill their own clansmen. This order was undoubtedly too cruel and malicious. If they really did that, they would bear the infamy of harming their own clansmen for eternity, and the Jintian clan members would mock them from behind. For a time, their expressions changed indeterminately while they struggled in their hearts, and it was extremely torturous. Look, this is the price you have to pay for being a dog. How pitiful and humiliating is this? The patriarch, Jin Tian Jingyuan, had a livid expression as he spoke coldly. Shut up. Jin Tian Wu Hong's eyes were bloodshot as he howled. If it wasn't for you constantly resisting and being unwilling to submit, how could such a thing have occurred? Remember, even if I kill all of you now, it's for the sake of protecting the entire Jin Tian clan. Even if I have to bear the infamy of eternity, I'll accept it, Fang Xiaoyun said indifferently. No matter how nice it sounds, it's better to take action. My patience is limited, and I'll only give all of you 10 breaths of time. 10 breaths of time. The breathing of Jin Tian Wu Hong and the other great figures grew heavy while their eyes turned red, and they faintly carried frenzied, killing intent. Everyone, don't blame us. We're doing this for the sake of protecting the entire Jin Tian clan. A white-haired old man roared as he charged forward explosively and slapped a clansman. Bang! The clansman's body was instantly incinerated into nothingness. The white-haired old man gasped for breath, and he seemed to be in a daze. How could the feeling of personally killing a clansman that was related to him feel good? Good! Fang Xiaoyan clapped as he roared with laughter. A wise man submits to circumstances. If you want to survive, then this is how it should be. Continue. With the white-haired old man taking the lead, the others didn't hesitate any longer, and they charged forward with ferocious expressions with bloodshot eyes. Even Jin Tian Wu Hong walked forward with the intention of making a move against the patriarch, Jin Tian Jingyuan. Suddenly, a furious and icy cold voice resounded. Stop! Bang! Along with this voice, a terrifying might swept over like a storm, and it collided with Jin Tian Wu Hong and the others, causing them to be blasted out. Some smashed onto the walls, some collided onto the stone pillars, and they were scattered all over the place. Fang Xiaoyun's eyes squinted as he stood up abruptly. A beautiful figure flashed over from outside the hall. She wore snow-white clothes and a golden belt, and she was beautiful like a celestial maiden that had walked out from a painting. Only her beautiful eyes surged with flames of rage. Xinwei. Jin Tian Jingyuan, who thought he would die, for sure couldn't help but cry out involuntarily when he saw who it was, and his expression was filled with disbelief. It was Jin Tian Xinwei, the daughter of Jin Tian Jingyuan. Father, I've returned. Jin Tian Xuanyue's eyes turned red while she felt both agitated and resentful in her heart. If she was a step later this time, then she would probably see her father's corpse. Xianyue, you've actually returned. Jin Tian Wu Hong, who'd fallen to the ground, crawled up with an astounded expression. He was unable to imagine that Jin Tian Xianyue would be able to directly blast all of them flying with just her imposing aura. She's a member of your Jin Tian clan as well? Asked Fang Xiaoyan. Yes. Jin Tian Wu Hong answered instinctively. Jin Tian Jingyuan's expression changed as he shouted explosively, Xianyue, leave quickly. You're not a match for the Daheng Sword House, so don't get involved. How could he be unable to discern that Jin Tian Xianyue had become extremely formidable now? But he was even more clearly aware of how terrifying the forces of the Daheng Sword House were. As her father, he didn't want to see Jin Tian Xianyue fight the Daheng Sword House with her life on the line. As long as she was alive, there would naturally be a chance for her to take revenge in the future. If she fought with her life on the line now, then her life and death would be difficult to predict. Haha, I'm afraid it won't be that easy to leave. Or perhaps, if this woman dares to leave today, then everyone in the Jin Tian clan will die for sure. Fang Xiaoyan smiled as if he was staring at an extremely tempting prey. On the contrary, if this woman chooses to submit to my Daheng Sword House today, then everyone in your Jin Tian clan will be able to live. Jin Tian Wu Hong spoke anxiously. Xianyue, did you hear that? So long as you submit, then your father and the others will be able to live. Xianyue, the lives of the entire clan are in your hands. Xianyue, you have to consider the overall situation. Perhaps the Jin Tian clan will be under your leadership in the future. The others spoke at once as well. Jin Tian Xuanyue's body trembled with rage. The ugliness of these clansmen caused her to almost be unable to control the killing intent in her heart. I'll deal with all of you after I deal with this person. Jin Tian Xianyue took a deep breath, and her clear eyes were piercingly cold as her gaze locked onto the distant Fang Xiaoyan. Don't worry, I won't allow you to die so easily. Clang! A Dao sword flashed out and swiftly slashed down towards Fang Xiaoyan. Fang Xiaoyan was originally fearless, and he thought that he could threaten Jin Tian Xianyue by controlling the lives of everyone in the Jin Tian clan. But he never imagined that Jin Tian Xianyue would actually attack directly. Swoosh! When this sword slashed down, even an old senior like Fang Xiaoyan who'd lived for countless years felt his heart palpitate, and he felt a strong sense of danger. His expression turned grim, and he dodged at the first possible moment. Bang! But in the next moment, his body was forcefully pressed to the ground, and he was smashed to the point the ground before him cracked apart while his entire body twitched. The Dao sword was like an eternal divine mountain, and it pressed down upon him to the point his body was on the verge of cracking apart, causing him to be unable to move. How could this be possible? Fang Xiaoyan cried out involuntarily while his pupils opened wide. I've been crushed by a single sword strike. When did such a peerless woman appear in the tiny Jin Tian clan? Jin Tian, Wu Hong, and the others were stunned and dumbstruck. A single sword strike crushed an eternal existence that was terrifying to the point others didn't dare disrespect her at all. The impact this brought to them was too great. Even Jin Tian, Jing Yuan, and the others were fiercely shocked by this scene, and all of them were speechless. No matter how they racked their brains, they'd never imagined that after just a little over 100 years of time, Jin Tian Xianyue, who'd severed all ties with the clan and drawn a clear line between herself and the clan, would actually be formidable to such an extent now. The hall was deathly silent. Fang Xiaoyan howled. Doing this will only bring harm to your Jin Tian clan. No matter how strong you are, how could you possibly go against the might of my Daheng Sword House? Just these words alone caused the hearts of Jin Tian, Jing Yuan, and the others to tremble. Right at this moment, a burst of ridicule resounded from outside the hall. What a fucking Daheng Sword House. How dare you threaten my younger sister Xianyue? The ignorant are truly fearless. Lin Sun, Xian Jiuyin, and Xia Zhi's figures walked in successively, and it was precisely Xian Jiuyin who spoke. He had his hands behind his back as he arrived before Feng Xiaoyun, who was suppressed on the ground, and he said with pity, "I'm not afraid to tell you that everyone from the Daheng sword house that's scattered 5,000 kilometers away has been annihilated, and not a single one of them survived. Now, do you think you still have a chance to live? That's impossible." Feng Xiaoyun's expression changed completely. "Oh, take a look for yourself." Xian Juyin stretched out his hand and crushed a jade slip. Light flowed, and then a screen of light appeared. Within the screen of light, a dense expanse of cultivators covered the heavens and the earth as they stood there. There were over 1,000 of them, and their lineup was peerlessly formidable. Shockingly, these were the forces of the Daheng sword house that was far away. However, along with Lin Sun's appearance and a casual flick of his sleeve, all the experts of the Daheng sword house seemed as if they'd suffered a storm of tribulation. No matter if it was the formidable heavenly longevity realm experts or the ordinary ninth realm ancestral ancestors, all of them were instantly obliterated. Even that expanse of heaven and earth seemed to have been erased from the world and collapsed into nothingness. This scene that could be said to be world-shocking was simply like a sledgehammer that smashed the fluke in Feng Xiaoyun's heart into pieces, and he felt as if he was about to collapse. Jin Tian, Wu Hong, and the others were completely dumbfounded. The experts of the Daheng sword house that they thought were impossible to resist had actually been annihilated so easily. On the other hand, at this moment, Jin Tian, Jing Yuan, and the others had recognized Lin Sun, who'd annihilated the army of the Daheng sword house, and their emotions surged while they completely lost control of themselves. How could they forget that it was because they were worried about being implicated by Lin Sun that the Jintian clan resolutely chose to cut ties with Jintian Xinhue? More updates. Chapter 3065. In the silent atmosphere, Jintian Xinhue ignored all kinds of eyes around and said softly, "Child, how should we deal with this person?" Lin Sun said, "Of course it's up to you. Don't worry, Daheng Sword House is not worth mentioning. Don't worry about causing me any trouble." Jin Tian, Xinhue nodded. Buzz. The Dao sword that was pressing down on Feng Xiaoyun shook violently. The sword intent it released shattered Feng Xiaoyun's body and destroyed his primordial spirit. An immortal figure died in front of them. The bloody scene shocked all the big shots of Jintian clan present. Plop, plop. Jintian Wu Hong and others, who realized that something was wrong, knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. "Xinhue, we are just thinking for the sake of all our clansmen. It's impossible for us to really submit to Daheng Sword House. We, your uncles, know that we have sinned. We don't ask for your forgiveness, but please give us a way to live. Yes, Xinhue, do you remember that I watched you grow up and taught you Taoism when you were a child?" All kinds of pleas sounded. Seeing this scene, Lin Sun shook his head and turned to walk out of the hall. "Xinhue, you solve it yourself." Xia Ji and Xian Juyin also walked out of the hall. "Xinhue is so pitiful to have such clansmen," Xian Juyin sighed softly. Lin Sun couldn't help sighing with emotion. Not to mention others, he himself had experienced many similar things. For example, when he entered the Forbidden City for the first time when he was young to solve the internal affairs of Lin family. For example, he went to the Eternal World to solve the grievances of Luo family. It was even to the extent that there were hidden dangers and chronic ailments within the Yuan sect. It seemed that this kind of thing was not uncommon in the whole world. After a quarter of an hour, Jin Tian, Xinhue walked out of the hall. "Solved?" Xian Jiuyin couldn't help asking. Jin Tian Xinhue nodded and looked at Lin Sun, saying, "Child, my father said that they want to apologize to you in person, but they are worried that you will be angry and refuse to forgive them." Lin Sun said with a smile, "You don't have to do that. I don't have any opinions about them. As long as you feel that you can forgive them, that's enough." Jin Tian Xinhue nodded, "I understand." Lin Sun said gently, "Don't think too much about it. I don't care about what they did in the past, but I've always felt that I've let you down. If you're worried about these people, when we return to the eternal true world, we could just leave with them." At that time, Jin Tian Xinhue resolutely chose to draw a clear line with her clan for Lin Sun. Since then, she had been with him all the time. She experienced all kinds of hardships and bloodshed, but she never complained or asked for anything from him. How could Lin Sun not be moved? In fact, he often felt guilty for letting her down. He once whipped a famous horse in a drunken stupor for fear of burdening a beauty. Really? Jean Tian Xuanyue's eyes lit up as he exclaimed in surprise. She didn't dare to make this request before, for fear that Lin Sun would feel conflicted. But she never thought that Lin Sun would take the initiative to make it. Lin Sun patted her on the shoulder with a smile and said, "Xinyu, don't try to guess my mind so carefully in the future. Whatever you want to do, as long as I can promise you, I will help you." Jean Tian Xinyu nodded and revealed an intoxicating smile from the bottom of her heart. She said, "I understand." Xian Juin, who was at the side, was anxious. "What do you know? Do you dare to say what you want the most right in front of Lin Sun?" Unfortunately, Jean Tian Xianyue didn't do so. It was as if Lin Sun's promise to bring the Jean Tian clan away had already made her feel extremely happy and satisfied. In just 2 hours, all the Jean Tian clan members were gathered and placed in the treasure that Jean Tian Xianyue carried with her. An immortal Dao treasure could contain a small world, so it was more than enough to bring all the Jean Tian clan members. Of course, the Jean Tian clan paid the price of all the properties and forces in the White Sovereign Galaxy. But as long as they could go to the Eternal World, it was already a great fortune that could change the fate of the clan. It was worth mentioning that Jean Tian Wuhong and the other important figures of the Jean Tian clan were all sentenced to death for betraying the clan. After doing all this, Lin Sun and the others didn't waste any time and continued on their journey. Soul, Oblivion Sea. The sky was high and the clouds were vast. The space rippled, and Lin Sun and the others appeared out of nowhere. This was the 3rd time Lin Sun stepped into this place after so many years. Everything has changed. Almost immediately, Lin Sun felt the surging power of the rules of heaven and earth shrouding the void, emitting an astonishing primitive and ancient life force. He remembered that the last time he returned, he had to suppress his cultivation to the quasi-emperor perfection realm to adapt to the rules of heaven and earth here. The reason was that the rules of heaven and earth above the soul oblivion sea couldn't withstand the power above the emperor realm, or else it would cause chaos. But now, Lin Sun's transcendent realm perfection realm cultivation didn't feel any suppression or discomfort. Without a doubt, the rules of heaven and earth in the soul oblivion sea could withstand the peak of the immortal level. This was shocking. In just a short 10 years, the Dao aura here is so dense that it's almost catching up to the 6th heaven of the eternal world. This change is too huge. Lin Sun couldn't help but gasp. When he first arrived at the outer region of the starry ancient path, the changes in the rules of heaven and earth were already shocking. When he arrived at the soul oblivion sea, where the ultimate was, the rules of heaven and earth were completely different, giving Lin Sun the illusion that he had entered the eternal world. It's really incredible. Xian Juin and Jean Tian Xianyue couldn't help but be moved. Only Xia Ji was as quiet as before, completely unconcerned about all this. A cultivator's cultivation will definitely improve at a godly speed in such a place, and it's the easiest for the heavens and the earth to give birth to rare spirit veins, divine materials, and divine herbs. Even though this sort of upheaval has merely continued for 10 years, to some cultivators that are trapped within their own cultivation realms, such an extraordinary upheaval of the heavens and the earth would definitely allow them to rise rapidly on their path towards the Tao and break through repeatedly. Lin Sun said, "I just don't know what the ultimate will be like. Brother Lin, as early as 70 years ago, your Lin family had already entered the ultimate in advance and settled in the core ruins. When that shocking change occurred in the ultimate, the Lin family would definitely be the first to benefit." Xian Juin smiled. "What's more, you've already left for more than 100 years. The Lin family's strength has probably already undergone a tremendous change. Even if many external forces invaded, there wouldn't be any problems." "I hope so." As Lin Sun spoke, he had already stepped forward. He was too familiar with the soul oblivion sea, and he was very clear about the location of the ultimate. Not long after he moved forward, Lin Sun's divine sense captured the aura of many cultivators scattered in different seas. These cultivators were obviously from different powers, and they occupied numerous islands in the oceanic domain. They seemed to intend to conquer the oceanic domain. It seemed like they were going to stay for a long time. Those islands were all set up with restrictive formations, and they were built like a paradise. Although the Soul Oblivion Sea was the first to benefit from the shocking change in the ultimate, it would indeed bring immeasurable benefits to cultivation if we establish a cave residence here and establish a Taoist orthodoxy. Lin Sun seemed to be lost in thought. As they got closer and closer to the ultimate, the aura of the cultivators they sensed along the way became stronger and stronger. Obviously, only those with powerful forces and profound cultivation could occupy the position closest to the ultimate. Boom! A wave of battle suddenly sounded in the distance. Lin Sun looked up and saw that it was the cultivators of two forces fighting. It seemed that they were fighting for the ownership of an island in the sea. The battle was extremely fierce, and the seawater was dyed red. There were also many cultivators watching from afar as if they were used to it. I'm afraid this sea will be designated as the territory of the Dongting World's Aqua Cloud Sword Pavilion. This is already the 49th battle of forces in the past month, right? Exactly. As the news of the shocking change in the ultimate spreads, the top forces of the various starry skies and the vast thousand world have been attracted here. Just wait and see. As time passes, the sea near the ultimate is destined to undergo round after round of reshuffling. Don't think that those forces can occupy an island now, but might be snatched away tomorrow. Listening to those discussions, Lin Sun and the others also felt a different atmosphere. The Soul Oblivion Sea had become a fat piece of meat that the major forces fought over. Everyone wanted to occupy a mountain and control part of the sea. Battles and killings occurred frequently. Such a bloody and turbulent situation made Lin Sun worry more and more about the Lin family. Bro, let me ask you something. Xian Jiuying grabbed a man who was watching the battle and asked. This man was dressed in a silver robe. He was also an emperor ancestor and was a top existence below the sempiternal realm. Being grabbed by Xian Jiuying made him shocked and furious. But when he met Xian Jiuying's eyes, he shuddered and immediately changed his clothes. His expression became respectful and nervous as he said, Senior, may I ask what you want to know? What's the situation at the ultimate? Xian Jiuying asked directly. The silver-robed man hurriedly said, Senior, the entrance to the ultimate is still occupied and sealed by the 7 major forces. It has been a year, and no one has been able to break through the defense line of the 7 major forces. Instead, they have been utterly defeated. As a result, no one has dared to go forward recently. 7 major forces? Which 7? Xian Jiuying raised his brows. The silver-robed man was about to answer when he was interrupted by Lin Sun. That's not important. Let me ask you, has anyone killed their way into the secret world of the ultimate? The silver-robed man's pupil shrank as he said in shock, You mean the primeval Dao sect's territory? Lin Sun and Xian Jiuying looked at each other and nodded. That's right, the silver-robed man said. The primeval Dao sect is a tough nut to crack. A few years ago, the 7 major forces had joined forces to attack them many times, but were stopped outside the secret world of the ultimate. It is said that it is the lair of the orthodoxy of Mount Heart and is extremely difficult to conquer. Now, the 7 major forces can only watch helplessly. After confirming that the secret world of the ultimate was not broken, Lin Sun no longer had the mood to listen to the rest of the conversation. The worry in his heart dissipated. It was also at this moment that he felt relaxed, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. Chapter 3066. The silver-robed man suddenly said, "Oh right, I heard that the 7 forces stationed at the entrance of the ultimate will launch a new round of attacks on the primeval Dao sect." Xian Jiuying scoffed. They're really getting braver with every setback. His voice was full of contempt. The silver-robed man said seriously, "Senior, the 7 forces operation this time cannot be underestimated. I heard that they will send all their undying figures to work together. Each undying figure will carry an order treasure of unfathomable power. They want to break open the secret dimension of the primeval Tao sect in one go. Xian Jiuyin grunted and looked at Lin Sun. Thank you. Lin Sun casually tossed a treasure to the silver-robed man and flew off with Xian Jiuyin and the rest. The silver-robed man was stunned. He didn't expect to be rewarded just by answering a question that everyone knew. He looked down at the palm-sized silver flying sword in his hand, and his expression changed. An immortal Tao weapon. The silver-robed man sucked in a breath of cold air. He quickly glanced around and put the silver flying sword into his pouch without batting an eyelid. When he thought of the people he had seen earlier, his heart started to beat violently. To be able to give away an immortal Tao weapon so casually, those people, just how terrifying were their backgrounds? Immediately after, the silver-robed man grinned. The heavens have favored me and actually sent such a fortuitous encounter to me. For an ancestor like him, obtaining an immortal Tao weapon was absolutely no different from obtaining a great fortune. Brother Lin, you can finally relax now, right? Xian Jiuyin asked with a smile on the way. How can I truly relax without seeing those friends and family? Lin Sun said casually. Zhao Jingxian, Lin Fan, Lin Zhong, Old Toad, Alu, Ahu Little Silver, and Little Tian appeared in his mind. The closer he was to home, the more timid he felt. This subtle emotion was also lingering in Lin Sun's mind. Along the way, they also saw many cultivators flying through the void towards the ultimate. Are the seven forces really going to make a move soon? Several years have passed, and the secret realms around the ultimate have been explored by the forces of the seven forces. They have obtained many miraculous fortunes. However, if they want to head deeper into the sinkhole, they must first take down the primordial Tao sect that is blocking their way. They can no longer wait. Is the Yuan-Shi Tao sect really that powerful? It's said that this orthodoxy was founded by a legendary figure known as the Tao Yuan Emperor. This person is the successor of Mount Fengtsuan. Many years ago, he dominated the starry sky ancient path. His name shook the world, and he achieved many legendary feats. He was known as the #1 emperor of the starry sky ancient path. Of course, this is all in the past. It is said that the Tao Yuan Emperor left the ancient path in the galaxy a long time ago and headed to the eternal true world. As for the primordial beginning Tao sect, it had already established itself in the sinkhole many years ago. It had the advantage of being in the right place at the right time. Before the upheaval in the sinkhole happened, the primordial beginning Tao sect had already taken action and obtained many unexpected heaven-defying opportunities. According to what I know, there are at least 3 powerful figures who have stepped into the immortal realm in the primeval Tao sect. One is called Jin Di, one is called Alu, and the last is called Zhao Jingxian. That's right, Zhao Jingxian is the Tao Yuan Emperor's wife. Right now, she has the final say in the entire primordial Tao sect. Along the way, Lin Sun and the others heard all kinds of discussions. Originally, Lin Sun had planned to rush at full speed. Lin Sun had planned to travel at full speed, but he was no longer in a hurry. Brother Lin, I did not expect Ms. Jingxian to have already reached the immortal realm, Xian Jiuyin said in surprise. Lin Sun was also rather happy. He said, Jingxian has the bloodline of the true dragon and obtained the origin dragon blood left behind by her ancestor. When I was still in the ancient desolation region, she had already reached the Emperor realm. Now that more than 100 years have passed, and with the upheaval in the sinkhole, it is only natural that she has reached the immortal realm. Xian Jiuyin could not help but glance at Jintian Xianhua. When he saw that the latter was listening quietly and did not show any abnormalities, he secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Zhao Jingxian was Lin Sun's first wife and the woman who had been with Lin Sun the earliest. If he had any conflict with her, there would be many twists and turns. It has been more than 100 years, and they still call you the Tao Yuan Emperor. If they knew of your current level of cultivation and identity, they would probably be shocked. Jin Tian, Xianhua smiled sweetly. Lin Sun sneered. It has only been 100 years. For some old people, it is not even enough time for one session of seclusion. But for me, too many things have happened in the past 100 years. If I had not chosen to go to the eternal true world, I would not have been able to achieve what I have today. That's right. Now that the sinkhole has changed, the ancient path of the universe is indeed different from before. But compared to the eternal true world, is still much weaker. Xian Jiuyin agreed deeply. If Miss Xianyue and I had not gone to the primordial realm, it would have been impossible for us to step on the path of immortality so easily. The sinkhole may not be as strong as the eternal true world now, but it is hard to say in the future. Lin Sun pondered. In a short 10 years, the sinkhole's upheaval had changed the ancient path of the universe. As time passed, more and more changes would occur in the world. That is hard to say. Don't forget, the calamity of an epoch will descend within 1,000 years. Xian Jiuyin said, I suspect that the upheaval in the sinkhole has something to do with the impending calamity of an epoch. Lin Sun's eyes narrowed. He had the same guess in his heart, but he did not dare to confirm it. Just like that, as they conversed, the sound of a horn suddenly resounded in the distance. Woo, 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 the atmosphere in the world became solemn and murderous. A storm was brewing. Lin Sun looked up and saw that in the distant sea, there was a huge abyss. The seawater nearby silently surged into it and disappeared without a trace. There was not a single wave. That was the entrance to the sinkhole. It had a circumference of 100,000 feet and was extremely vast. On the other hand, a dense expanse of cultivators were stationed in the vicinity of the entrance to the bottomless abyss, and they were divided into 7 groups. Every single group had over 1,000 cultivators, and they respectively controlled a region of the sea in the vicinity of the bottomless abyss. Among these 7 camps, the weakest had the cultivation of a 9th realm ancestor. There were countless Jueshian emperor ancestors, and there were even immortals among them. Such a vast formation was simply like a divine army from the various worlds, and merely the aura they emitted caused others to be awed at the sight of it. And in places further away from the sinkhole, there were also many cultivators watching from afar, not daring to approach. Those cultivators who rushed over like Lin Sun also stood far away, their expressions filled with shock, fear, and awe. They were the 7 strongest forces from the major starry sky planes of the vast 1,000 worlds. In these years, countless forces had tried to enter the sinkhole, but they could not break through the defense line of the 7 forces. Instead, they were buried. It was unknown how many tyrannical figures had died, dyeing the nearby sea red. So far, no one dared to enter. Such a lineup is almost comparable to the immortal emperor clan of the 6th heaven. Lin Sun could not help but be surprised. Of course, the immortal emperor clan of the 6th heaven had nirvana realm existences. This was something that the 7 forces could not compare to. After all, the strongest among them was only a heavenly longevity realm great perfection. Naturally, Lin Sun didn't care about these forces at all. In the past few years, he broke into the 8th heaven and slaughtered many people. Many transcendent realm great perfection existences died in his hands. Even the eternal realm's Dharma idol had to suffer under his hands. Brother Lin, they are blowing the horn. This is a sign that they are planning to attack. Are they planning to kill their way into the secret core realm today? Xian Jiuyin said. Between the heavens and the earth, the majestic sound of the horn surged. The void rumbled, and a murderous aura covered the sky. In the camp of the 7 forces, immortals rose into the sky one after another. Behind them, immortal divine halos emerged, like a ruler descending to the world, attracting the attention of everyone present. Many people revealed a look of awe. Immortal, to the cultivators of the various starry sky planes of the vast 1,000 worlds, they were already like the overlords of the heavens. Don't worry, let's watch, Lin Sun said casually. He, Xia Ji, Xian Jiuyin, and Jintian Xianyue all concealed their auras and stood far away, not attracting much attention. Everyone, if we join forces today, we will definitely be able to break through the secret core realm's barrier. This old man only has a small suggestion. After killing our way into the secret core realm, we must destroy the primordial Tao sect. A red-robed, black-haired man stood in the air, holding a jade cauldron with purple light flowing around it. His divine aura was terrifying and domineering. Of course, a mere primordial Tao sect wants to monopolize the ruins of N's fortune. All these years, they have been obstructing us from investigating. Their actions have already angered the heavens. If we don't destroy them today, we won't be able to quell the hatred in our hearts. Some immortal figures were filled with murderous intent, not concealing it at all. The immortal aura on their bodies surged into the sky, stirring up the winds and clouds in all directions. The cultivators watching from afar held their breaths, realizing that an unprecedented battle would erupt today. How could the primordial Tao sect withstand the combined forces of the seven forces? When Xian Jiuyin saw this, he couldn't help but laugh. He was eager to give it a try. "Brother Lin, why don't I go and take care of them now?" Jin Tian Xianyue said, "You are also at the celestial longevity realm. Can you handle so many old fellas by yourself?" Xian Jiuyin said impatiently, "Xianyue, can our immortal path be the same as theirs? What's more, before I left this time, my great ancestor gave me many trump cards. Any one of them can kill them over 100 times in a minute." Jin Tian Xianyue pursed his lips into a smile and didn't say anything else. "How boastful. After so many years, all of you have been stopped here. Don't you think it's embarrassing for you to be so arrogant now?" Suddenly, a figure rushed out of the ultimate. His loud laughter shook the heavens, and his voice echoed throughout the heavens and earth. There was a wild and arrogant aura spreading from him. This person wore a green robe, and his eyes were golden. He was handsome like a young man as he swaggered above the ruins of End. His gaze swept across the crowd as if there was no one else around. His arrogant attitude attracted everyone's attention. I will continue to update tonight. Chapter 3067. Xian Jiuyin was surprised to see the green-robed young man overlooking the crowd. Who is this guy? He looks so arrogant. Lin Sun laughed. "My brother Jin Dui." Lin Sun laughed. "My brother Jin Dui. I call him Old Toad. He is a descendant of the three-legged golden toad. He has been living in the Soul Oblivion Sea since ancient times. When I first came to the Soul Oblivion Sea when I was young, I got to know him through a fight. His eyes were filled with reminiscence. He had just met Zhao Jingxian and accompanied her and her sect to explore the ultimate in the Soul Oblivion Sea. At that time, everyone was in the prime of their lives, promising and promising. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of years had passed. No wonder. Xian Jiuyin laughed. How could Lin Sun's brother be ordinary? Jin Dui, it seems that your Yuanshi Taoist sect can't sit still anymore. Otherwise, why would you jump out in such a hurry? The red-robed, black-haired man said coldly. The immortal figures of the seven forces gathered together. There were more than a dozen of them. They stood in the void and blocked the ultimate. Their chi locked on Jin Dui. Jin Dui said coldly, "What a joke. I think you can't sit still anymore. That's why you decided to join hands today." The red-robed, black-haired man snorted. "Things have to come to an end." Jin Dui suddenly laughed and said, "In that case, I have a suggestion. To avoid unnecessary casualties, why don't we make a bet?" "How?" The red-robed, black-haired man raised his eyebrows. Jin Dui said without hesitation, "The seven major factions will choose 3 people, and the primordial Tao sect will choose 3 people. There will be 3 battles. If the primordial Tao sect wins, you will immediately leave this place. If the primordial Tao sect loses, we will no longer stop you from exploring the sinkhole." For a moment, the red-robed, black-haired man and the others hesitated. They naturally knew that if they attacked the secret realm of heart with all their strength, they might win in the end, but there would be immeasurable casualties. It seems that the Yuanshi Taoist sect also feels threatened and can't hold on any longer. Otherwise, why would they take such a compromise? Xian Jiuyin sighed. Lin Sun nodded calmly. "What? You don't dare to bet?" Seeing that no one answered for a long time, Jin Dui frowned. However, the red-robed, black-haired man suddenly sneered. In the current situation, We already have the upper hand. Why should we gamble? Jean Du's face darkened. Do you really want to fight to the death? A life and death struggle? No, your primordial beginning Tao sect is destined to be eliminated today. Someone said in a cold voice. This guy is purposely using a bet to protect the Yuan Sherdao sect. Everyone, don't fall for it. Someone chuckled. Then what are you waiting for? Let's kill this evil creature first. Someone attacked right away, waving a long black rod and moving through the void towards Jean Dui. Do it. Almost at the same time, the other Immortal Realm experts also attacked. The spectators in the distance couldn't help but take a deep breath. These Immortal Realm existences weren't easy to fool. They attacked without warning. Rumble, rumble, the world shook. The light of the Immortal Way raged like a hurricane. The dazzling light mixed with the unfathomable power of the Tao soldiers enveloped Jean Dui and the others like a tide. Then let's fight to the death. I'll wait for you in the secret core world. Jean Dui's expression changed slightly, and he was about to leave. He was only at the heavenly longevity realm. He was confident that he could deal with a few opponents at the same level as him. However, against the combined attack of more than 10 Immortal Realm experts, he was destined to be unable to handle it. Therefore, he decided to retreat to the secret core world first. However, just as he was about to retreat, there was a loud rumble. Countless spiderweb-like order power appeared in the void nearby, transforming into a giant net that covered the sky and locked the space around the entrance of the ultimate. Jean Du's path of retreat was also sealed, causing his body to stagnate. For a moment, he couldn't escape from the locked order power. Ha ha! You don't even know that you're walking right into a trap. Once I kill you, I'll go and destroy the Yuan Sherdao sect. Amidst the arrogant laughter, more than 10 Immortal Realm experts attacked together. Rumble. A terrifying Tao light whizzed over. Jean Du gritted his teeth, his long hair flying in the wind. He decided to fight with his life. You think I'm afraid of you? Even if I die, I'll drag you guys down with me. At this critical moment, Jean Du felt his body lighten, and he was grabbed through the air, disappearing from the entrance of the ultimate. Rumble. The surrounding powers and Tao soldiers instantly missed their target. They only caused a destructive tide of energy to spread out in the surroundings. Where is he? Damn it. My clan's order power has been destroyed. Who saved him? This sudden scene caught those undying beings off guard, and they were surprised and bewildered. It wasn't just them. The powerhouses of the Seven Forces and the spectators far away were all shocked. What was going on? Jean Du himself was stunned. He felt his vision blur, and he was uncontrollably taken away. When he woke up, he found himself in a nearby ocean region. Then his eyes widened, and he almost jumped up. Big brother? What? It's only been 100 years, and you don't recognize me. Lin Sun laughed. Of course, he was the one who attacked earlier. Jean Du's handsome face was ecstatic, and he laughed out loud. It really is you. Oh my, I'm not dreaming, am I? Saying so, he slapped his thigh. Feeling the pain, he finally knew this wasn't an illusion. Seeing Old Toad lose his composure, Lin Sun's heart was in turmoil. He patted Old Toad's shoulder. I know the situation now. Leave the rest to me. Old Toad nodded and shouted, Those are more than 10 Immortal Realm old farts. I'll fight with you. Xian Jiuyin couldn't help but say, Brother, let's just watch from the side. Don't you want to see how powerful your big brother has become in these years? Old Toad was stunned. It was also at this time that the dozen or so undying beings discovered Old Toad's tracks. Their eyes all looked over in unison, their expressions darkening. Someone frowned and scolded. Who are you? How dare you get involved in the grudge between us and the primeval Tao sect? Are you tired of living? Their eyes swept over Lin Sun, Xia Ji, Xian Jiuyin, and the others. They found that they all looked unfamiliar, but the Immortal Realm aura emanating from Lin Sun made them shiver. The experts of the Seven Forces and those watching from afar all looked over, their expressions filled with surprise. They couldn't believe that there were still outsiders who dared to get involved in such a situation. Xian Jiuyin laughed, his expression full of pity. He couldn't be bothered to argue with them anymore. In these years, have there been any casualties in our primeval Tao sect? Lin Sun asked casually. Jean Di shook his head. No, we've been guarding the secret world of Core all these years. With the protection of the secret world of Core, no one has been harmed so far. Lin Sun instantly relaxed and revealed a smile. That's good, seeing that they were chatting as if no one else was around, ignoring everyone present. The group of Immortal Realm experts' expressions became even gloomier. Who are you? Aren't you afraid of getting into trouble here? The red-robed, black-haired man's voice was cold. His murderous intent surged, and a terrifying aura spread in this direction. Lin Sun glanced at them and said, "You should be glad that our Lin family didn't suffer any casualties. Otherwise, I'm afraid we won't be able to keep you here today." Arrogant. I like to see what gives you the right to be so arrogant. A ferocious old man shouted. He took out a golden Taoist seal in his hand and smashed it through the air. Boom! The golden Taoist seal soared through the air, releasing a power that made the earth tremble and the seawater boil. That power made countless people shudder. However, Lin Sun didn't move. The golden Taoist seal suddenly stopped 10 feet away from him. It couldn't move an inch, as if it had hit an unshakable wall. Bang! Following that, the golden Taoist seal exploded in the void, and light rained down from the sky. An immortal Tao weapon was destroyed just like that. This strange and terrifying scene made Jean Di dumbfounded. This completely subverted his imagination. In the distance, as the golden Taoist seal exploded, the ferocious old man was affected and coughed out a mouthful of blood. The other Immortal Realm experts' expressions changed as well. They realized something was wrong. Attacked together. Almost subconsciously, the red-haired black-robed man shouted, "Kill!" They moved together. They took out their Taoist weapons and released their Taoist techniques. Their immortal Tao was fully activated as they pointed their spears at Lin Sun. Rumble, the world turned upside down. The sun and moon lost their light. The terrifying torrent of immortal Tao power made countless spectators scream and retreat in panic. You're courting death. Lin Sun's lips curved coldly. He reached out his hand and grabbed. Suddenly, the various Taoist techniques were crushed like paper. They blossomed into a dazzling rain of light that lit up the world. Bang, bang, bang. One by one, the immortal Tao weapons were crushed. Jade cauldrons, swords, spears, they all turned into scrap metal under this grab. The 10 Immortal Realm experts were affected. They all coughed up blood. Their expressions changed, and their souls almost left their bodies. The power of one grab crushed their power like a hot knife through butter. This made them sense a deadly threat. They were shocked and realized that they had kicked a metal plate this time. Jean Di felt dizzy. He felt like his brain couldn't handle it. How terrifying was his cultivation to be able to do this so easily. This was unbelievable. The heavens and the earth were perfectly silent. The distant spectators were shocked into a daze, and they were in a daze. Such a strike was simply like the hand of the heavens descending into the world, and it was invincible. When they looked at Lin Sun again, their eyes were filled with fear. Who was he? What kind of monstrous power did he have? In this deathly silent atmosphere, Lin Sun opened his mouth. It would be a pity to kill you all. Never mind, I'll leave you all alive. You can be used as whetstones for Yuanshi Dao sect. As he spoke, his sleeves fluttered. Then, the 10 Immortal Realm experts in the distance were trapped in the void like flies. They couldn't move at all. They all turned into beams of light and disappeared into Lin Sun's fluttering sleeves. The thousands of experts from the 7 major forces felt their vision go black. Their bodies flew up uncontrollably and disappeared into Lin Sun's sleeves like a tide. In the blink of an eye, the 7 major forces seemed to have evaporated from the world. There wasn't a single trace left. More updates for you. Chapter 3068. World in the Sleeve. However, the magical power that Lin Sun used was insane. In a blink of an eye, all the cultivators of the 7 forces were taken away. Even the powerful immortals were taken away as if they were ants. Jean D was stunned and couldn't come back to his senses for a long time. The spectators in the distance felt like they were struck by lightning. They were so shocked by this shocking scene that they lost their minds. The seven forces were the top forces of the vast thousand worlds. They had been controlling the seas around the ultimate for many years, and no one could shake them, especially those immortals, who were so powerful that the mere mention of them made people pale. But now, they were all taken away like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves. No one was spared. Who could remain calm in front of such an unbelievable scene? Only Xian Jiuyin and Jin Tian. Xianyuel looked normal. If these people knew what happened in the eternal world, they probably wouldn't be so surprised. Xia Ji had been eating melon seeds from beginning to end. The spiritual melon seeds Lin Sun made for her looked, smelled, and tasted good. She had been obsessed with them recently. As for other things, she really didn't care. It wasn't that she was lazy, but she couldn't bring herself to do it. At that moment, Lin Sun seemed to have done something extremely ordinary. He scanned the surroundings and said, "For the next 3 days, no one is to appear within a 500-kilometer radius of the sinkhole. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." His voice spread out clearly, sweeping across the surface of the sea and spreading into the distance. At this moment, the cultivators of many forces scattered across the soul oblivion sea, whether they were fighting or cultivating in seclusion, powerful immortals, or other cultivators, all heard this voice that was filled with great pressure and shook their minds. For a moment, everyone's expression changed. Who gave such a domineering order? Lin Sun didn't care about this. After he finished speaking, he looked at Jin Dui and said with a smile, "Old Toad, what are you waiting for? Lead the way." Jin Dui seemed to wake up from a dream and immediately led Lin Sun and the others into the ultimate. It wasn't until their figures disappeared that the spectators in the distance gradually came back to their senses. Then the atmosphere in the field boiled. My God, the forces of the seven forces were swept away, just like that. Who is that person? How terrifying is his cultivation? Could it be an old monster at the Nirvana God realm? His surname is Lin. Could it be? Amidst the discussion, someone suddenly screamed in excitement. It's him, the Dao Yuan Emperor. He's back. Dao Yuan Emperor. All of a sudden, the experts from the forces outside the Starry Sky Ancient Path thought of one person. Lin Dao Yuan, the first venerable emperor of the Starry Sky Ancient Path, had once dominated the Starry Sky Ancient Path for a period of time. He was Feng Xian's successor, the founder of the primeval Dao sect, and a widely recognized legend. Yes, it must be the Dao Yuan Emperor. The primordial Dao sect was originally founded by him for the Lin family. Now that he has returned and seen the primordial Dao sect being besieged, it is reasonable for him to take action. Many people were excited. When the Dao Yuan Emperor left, he was only at the Emperor realm. It has only been 100 years, but his cultivation has become so powerful, someone was trembling. With a wave of his sleeves, he swept through the seven great forces like a whirlwind sweeping away clouds. He was like a god from the heavens. The news spread like a storm, and it spread across the soul oblivion sea on the same day. Lin Dao Yuan, he is so powerful. The experts from the foreign forces were shocked by Lin Sun's domineering methods. Who would not be afraid of the seven top forces swept through with a wave of his sleeves? This is troublesome. With Lin Dao Yuan around, who can go to the ultimate to search for opportunities? The foreign forces realized the seriousness of the problem. Ha ha! The Dao Yuan Emperor is finally back. The Starry Sky Ancient Path has finally ushered in a new dawn. To the cultivators of the Starry Sky Ancient Path, Lin Sun's return made them feel excited and happy. In these years, the foreign forces had invaded the Starry Sky Ancient Path on a large scale, setting off a reign of terror across the world. It caused unrest everywhere, and the people were plunged into misery and suffering, especially in the soul oblivion sea of the lower realm. In order to occupy the opportunities in the ultimate, the foreign forces had caused countless killings. The natives of the lower realm were naturally the first to bear the brunt. and countless people were slaughtered. Before Lin Sun's return, the people of the world felt sad and desperate, thinking that the starry sky ancient path would be controlled by the foreign forces in the future. But now it was different. The Dao Yuan Emperor's return is bound to set off a reckoning. Just wait, the calamity of the foreign forces has arrived. As the news spread, countless cultivators who had been oppressed and humiliated by the foreign forces could not help but feel hopeful, looking forward to the day when the foreign forces would face a calamity. Now, the sinkhole was the focus of everyone's attention. The shocking news of Lin Sun's return and the destruction of the 7 major forces quickly spread to the various star fields and worlds of the starry sky ancient path. For a time, it set off a great uproar. The ultimate, the entrance to the secret world of Kor. Alu paced back and forth, waiting nervously. His majestic figure was tall, and his skin surged with powerful, immortal fluctuations. The big black bird lay on the iron pot on his back and sighed. "Look at how anxious you are. With such a temperament, I really don't know how a blockhead like you managed to set foot on the immortal Tao. You thieving bird, what the hell do you know about temperament?" Alu spat. That's right, this thieving bird only knows how to make sarcastic remarks. When something big happens, he'll be at a loss. Not far away, Little Silver crossed his arms in front of his chest, a look of disdain on his face. He was still a few inches tall, and his little face was incomparably handsome. He stood on the shoulder of a young girl. The girl's eyes were big and watery, and her skin was as white as sheep fat. She was extremely beautiful, and she was reserved and shy. The girl was little Tian, transformed from the demonic sky-split butterfly. In her arms, there was a round little fellow nestled. Flames curled around his body, and he had round eyes, a round nose, and a round mouth. This was, of course, Chirp. Kill your way out if you can. Kill all the 7 major forces. I promise I'll kowtow to you, the big black bird said lazily. The big black bird said lazily, "If you don't have the ability, then don't laugh at me." Alu raised his eyebrows, clenched his fist, and prepared to beat the big black bird. Just then, there was a ripple in space. Whoosh! Everyone stopped what they were doing and looked over in unison. When they saw Jean D's figure appear unscathed, they all breathed a sigh of relief. However, before they could ask about the news of the outside world, they were all stunned. Immediately after Jean D, another tall figure appeared. He was dressed in moon-white clothes, indifferent and otherworldly. He was so familiar that everyone present couldn't help but feel like they were dreaming, and they all stared at him with wide eyes. As for the following figures, Xia Ji, Xian Jiuyin, and Jintian Xianwei, they were all ignored. Old Toad coughed and said, "What's wrong? Don't you recognize my big brother?" All of a sudden, Alu rushed up, spread out his rock-like arms, and hugged the tall figure, shouting, "Big brother, you're finally back." Chirp, Chirp, nestled in little Tian's arms, turned into a flame and rushed over. Its round body easily squeezed into Alu's arms, and it kept chirping happily. "Master!" Little Silver grinned brightly and flew to Lin Sun's shoulder. "Master!" Little Tian rushed over, his long eyelashes trembling slightly. His big pure eyes were full of excitement and surprise, and he looked a little at a loss. Clang! The big black bird's head hit the big black pot, and it jumped up as if it had been frightened. It flapped its wings and shouted, "My God, what did I see? Is there something wrong with my eyesight?" Further away, Little Five and Leaf, who were busy setting up the restriction, stopped what they were doing at the same time, and their faces were full of surprise. "Master!" Formation Spirit Little Five flew over and danced around Lin Sun. Leaf, on the other hand, was much calmer, but he couldn't hide his joy and excitement. Lin Sun couldn't help smiling when he saw so many familiar companions as soon as he entered the secret realm of mind. He was so happy that he felt happier than if he had killed a formidable enemy. Seeing this scene, Old Toad also couldn't stop laughing. Xian Jiuyin and Jintian Xianwei looked at each other and laughed. The scene of reunion after a long time was indeed very infectious. By the way, I forgot to tell you that the 7 forces stationed at the entrance of the ultimate have been suppressed by Big Brother. Speaking of this, Old Toad stared at the big black bird. Damn bird, what did you say just now? You said that as long as the enemy is destroyed, you will kowtow? Everyone was stunned. The 7 forces had been suppressed? If Old Toad hadn't said it himself, they wouldn't have dared to believe it. At the same time, the big black bird's expression froze, and it hurriedly explained, I was talking about them, not Lin Sun. If I knew he was back, Master Bird wouldn't have said that. Anyway, the 7 forces have been destroyed. This is a great thing. Don't talk about kowtowing again. Everyone couldn't help laughing. The big black bird had always been like this, and they were already used to it. Big brother, everyone missed you so much these years. Alu grinned. By the way, don't stay here. Let's go back. Sister-in-law and the others are still waiting for Old Toad's news in the assembly hall. Okay, Lin Sun nodded. The group immediately rushed forward. Compared to back then, the secret dimension of the core dimension was completely different. Thick and vigorous primordial vitality transformed into divine rays of light that covered the sky, sprinkling down the pure, surging primordial aura of the great Tao. Mountains rose and fell on the ground, winding like dragons. Every blade of grass and tree that grew on them glowed with an astonishing aura of divinity and vitality. Not far from the core dimension was the mountain gate of the primeval Taoist sect. Row upon row of buildings were built along a divine mountain. There were alchemy rooms, herb gardens, training grounds, sutras, preaching pavilions, and so on. Apart from these, there were also cave mansions in different locations, giving off a grand atmosphere of paradise and immortal treasures. I'm finally back. Lin Sun couldn't help but feel excited. Many familiar figures involuntarily appeared in his mind, including Zhao, Jingxian, Lin Fan when he was young, Uncle Zhong, and so on.